lives. That's 8 families who get more time together. You have the power to save lives. So next time you're at the BMV, or even right now at DonateLifeIndiana.org, say yes to organ donation.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
At Advent, nasal congestion and sinus infections can be solved with an in-office 20-minute procedure. Elsewhere, expect surgery.
Nobody likes a cold shower. LD Smith has hot deals on water heaters. Save up to $300 on a new water heater installed.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
From the DriveHubler.com studios, this is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
1, 2, you know what to do.
Pretty simple, I win. Google me.
Mendoza, back to throw, pressure comes again, throws it to the end zone, and a catch is made. Is it a touchdown? Touchdown! Unbelievable! Omar Cooper with a grab, and he put his foot down. It's a score for Indiana.
For the last couple of years, my God, it's just been a blast.
Here's the snap. Here's the throw. Catch is made. And a run! Down the middle of the field goes Surratt. Touchdown! 2 receivers far side, 1 near. He's going to throw it this. It's picked up by Fisher. He's going to go the distance. Touchdown! Here's the snap back to Mendoza. Looks to the end zone. Rolls to his right. Runs it upfield. 5-yard line. Dives. Touchdown, Indiana. And Fernando Mendoza shows you why he has multiple capabilities out there from an offensive standpoint for this Indiana football team.
The winner of the 2025 Heisman Trophy is Fernando Mendoza.
Up the middle he goes. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Kobe Martin! This Indiana football team is feeling like they can eat Illinois' lunch any moment, anytime they want to.
The Indiana Hoosiers are now the bullies of college football.
Fernando takes the snap. They pressure him to throw to the end zone. Touchdown! Wow, what a play!
Let's go. We finally get to puff our chest out a little bit.
Now the snap to Fernando. Looks, has time, throws it deep to the end zone. He's got Becker. Touchdown! What a catch by Charlie Becker again. 31-yard play.
Number 1 team in the country, and they're smacking Alabama around in the Rose Bowl, and they're not done.
Talk about sending a message to the rest of the country. This is a message not only for this year and this playoff run, but going forward. The standard is now the standard in Indiana.
Indiana, 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 one you. We will fight for the crimson, for the glory of you. Never not fail, never falter, in the battle, we're trying to do. Indiana, 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 all for you. Are you?
Let's go! I'm ready to run out onto the field and get going at the Peach Bowl tonight. It's the Indiana Hoosiers, the #1 ranked team in the nation, 14-0 in a rematch with the Oregon Ducks. The winner goes to play for the national championship game a week from Monday. Good morning. Excellent job again, Mark Dykton.
Thank you.
Candy striped pants James Boyd in the building this morning.
Let's go, baby.
I dig it. And Kevin Bowen, you and I were just talking about the fact that we've been sleep deprived all week long, and I'm okay with all that. That's just the way this week has gone. And we got a lot of other great things to talk about today, too. Pacers and 1,000 wins last night for Rick Carlisle. Chris Ballard meeting with the media. What a glorious time to be alive and be a sports fan in Indiana.
Yeah, definition of great might be a little different for a few of those items, but nonetheless, boy, I hope tonight can live up to what last night certainly did. Just an incredible game. Mark Dykton first, great work on that. Good luck to your Bears. That is a nice Bears sweatshirt you have there behind the glass. Talk about a big one for your fandom coming up tomorrow night. And yeah, that's one of those where it took me about an hour to fall asleep after last night. It was just such an epic game. So once again, I'll say what I said yesterday to lead off the show. Everybody traveling down there. I saw Josh on the text line has already chimed in. Everybody making the drive down. Certainly safe travels. We will have you covered here for the next 3 hours. Then, you can dial up some old podcasts with Joe Buck audio you heard there, Scott Dolson audio, loved Anthony Thompson and Jake yesterday, and we'll have you covered as you descend upon the Peach State and tonight, Indiana and Oregon, a trip to the national title where there will not be any SEC team.
I think for the third year in a row, there will be no SEC team in the championship game. How about that, Kevin Bowen? How about the fact that this year in the, in top 25 or top 10 teams, I'll double check what it is, but the SEC is basically underwater against ranked teams from other conferences this year. The tide is starting to change, James Boyd. And what has changed so much in the last 24 months that's probably going to keep that going? Not that the SEC is going to be behind forever, but I think the rest of college football has caught up.
Absolutely. Indiana is the perfect example of that. You go from being the losingest program ever, I believe, in Division I football to now being 2 wins away from a national championship in an undefeated season. So it has been great. I have learned my lesson as the Illinois guy getting blown out months ago, but at this point, I'm ready to see the hometown area team get it done.
Well, last night was a very entertaining game, and I start to think about tonight's game at the Peach Bowl, a 30-20 win for Indiana over Oregon the first time around. Obviously, you talk about playing teams a second time. It usually goes one of two ways. The team that won just doubles down and proves that they are the better team, or every once in a while, Oregon's like, yep, we had an off day that day. Let's see what happens. I tend to think that the 3.5-point spread, Kevin Bowen, it's not enough. I don't know what I've got left in my account from this past football season. I know it's enough. It's been okay. It's been a decent year. It wasn't a great year. But whatever I got left, I'm going for that. I'm going Indiana, giving up 3.5 points, Kevin. I don't feel bad about that at all.
Shout out to Rick Carlisle, win number 1,000 last night. I flipped over talk about a chaotic end to that game as well. And I flipped back to Miami Ole Miss, and I believe they were just kind of wrapping up their halftime segment. And ironically enough, it was Nick Saban that had the mic at that moment there. And as Saban is, kind of giving his last thoughts before they send it to break, he uttered the phrase, "It looks like nobody can beat them." Nick Saban was talking about the Indiana University football team. Just another reminder of where we're at right now, as they are the favorite. And I think they deserve that. And clearly in the eyes of not just us in this studio, I think they're viewed in that exact light more from a national standpoint there. And I think that's right. And honestly, if you watch that game last night, Miami's got some incredible individual talent. There's no denying that. Malachi Toney is one of the more special players I think already we've seen in college football, and the fact that he still should be in high school is utterly amazing. Like him and Cooper Flagg, is that really true with their ages? But nonetheless, I think you watched Miami last night and you also realize there are some cracks, and certainly they weren't disciplined whatsoever. And I think Indiana would be a definite favorite over them. So yeah, cannot wait for tonight. Really the last 2 years, guys, we've had just some epic semifinal games. I thought last year Notre Dame, Penn State was a tremendous game. I thought even Ohio State, Texas had great moments after kind of the first round where we didn't really get a ton of that. And certainly last night was just, we got 4 lead changes in the final 7 minutes last night. I mean, how many football games, period, do you see that, let alone a trip to go to the national championship game?
You don't.
Let alone have a chance at the end. That's what shocked me. I mean, after the Carson Beck scramble touchdown, I'm thinking, okay, this is probably over. And then Ole Miss gets it to within not just necessarily a Hail Mary, but a legitimate throw to the end zone to try to win that game on a walk-off. So That was incredible theater right there.
Yeah, and I know for the people that were talking about interference and holding and stuff like that, it looks like the offensive player and the defensive player both had a hold of each other's jersey going for that thing. That's just.
I have to slow it down frame by frame. I think it's one of those plays where if you're a Miami fan, you're saying great defense. If you're an Ole Miss fan, you're saying, where's the flag?
I think in a situation like that, almost always, and feel free to chime in, Mark, because you've seen a few of these in the NFL over the years.
Mark, you know nothing about Hail Marys against your team.
Well, again,
Never.
yeah.
What are you talking about?
But my point is, unless somebody is just flat out tackling the wide receiver or shoving him obviously out of bounds, they're just going to let that play, aren't they, James? Like, it's just scrum. Just go get the ball.
Well, they let him play last night, so there you have it.
All right, so a lot to talk about this morning. Obviously, a lot coming up later on tonight. It's one of those days, and you know this as a sports fan. Kevin, you live with this all the time. It's one of those days where you just keep looking up at the clock all day long. Is it 7:30 yet? How close are we? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? What? You mean I was just in back-to-back meetings and they only took 48 minutes?
Well, that's
what do you
why
mean it's only 1 o'clock?
That's why you've got us, right?
Yes.
So you've got us covered all day long. We'll get you set all the way leading up to tonight's. Shout out to a couple local guys. I think it's just 2, if I'm not mistaken. Greg Rakestraw will join us. Sean McDonough, by the way, will join us at 8 o'clock. TV play-by-play guy for tonight's game. Greg Rakestraw at 9. But I believe our 2 Indiana high schoolers are Omar Cooper Jr., of course. Goes without saying the season that he has had, the Lawrence North product. And shout out to Dylan Thieneman from Westfield High School, one of the more important players for Oregon, frankly. We obviously saw his career begin at Purdue. Really was an instant impact guy for the Purdue Boilermakers and the Westfield product. I have a feeling he will have a lot of people maybe in the old phone book that maybe has split rooting interest for tonight's game. So a couple local angles in this one from an Indiana high school standpoint.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Sean McDonough will be on the call. James Boyd later on tonight on ESPN. He is going to join us at 8 a.m. this morning.
Excited for it. I think he's the best in the business. And I believe he actually won the National Sports Media Association Sportscaster of the Year award for the entire country. So he is the real deal.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites, and I can't wait to hear his call of that game a little bit later on tonight. I've looked at so many season-long retrospectives that people have been putting out on social media and things like that, and you see people like Paul Feinbaum I tell you right now, I'm not going to pick Indiana. I think the folks that have long been carrying the flag for the SEC, and look, rightfully so, for a couple of decades, they were clearly the best conference and fielded the best teams, but they're still living off a narrative that just doesn't exist anymore, Kevin. And I think people like Paul Feinbaum are holding on to that with every last little bit of strength that they have, because if you look at the last 3 years, it's just not true. It's just not there.
Yeah, 3 hours of breath for me on this show. I ain't wasting on Paul Feinbaum this morning, I can tell you that.
All right. We get to check down coming up in just a moment here. A lot of fun today. Aside from Sean McDonough, we have another guest this morning too, I believe, Mark. And so Greg Rakestraw's moved a little bit today.
Yep, he's ceding his time, his usual 8 o'clock slot to Sean, so he'll join us at 8:45.
All right, so busy day ahead. We'll check the text line often this morning, so do that at 239-1070. Give us a shout on the phone lines. I think those have been upgraded over the last 24 hours, as of most things, as our move to the building becomes more and more complete. And I'm not going to lie, it felt a little rough at times. I know you guys also felt it and heard it too, but hopefully in the last 24, 48 hours, we've remedied a lot of that stuff. So hang with us here. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Query and Company.
I just remember that song about Henry VIII where they say second verse, same as the first. Chris Ballard, to me, came out and talked about the things that are the same that we heard last year and the same that we heard the year before.
It wasn't good enough. Like, it starts with me.
I thought James Boyd was really good in asking him what have been the highlights of his tenure, but unfortunately, all of those that he mentioned were from 5 years ago or past. That's a lifetime in the NFL.
Query and Company, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
With Progressive Insurance, you could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat insurance. Visit Progressive.com for more information. That's Progressive.com.
Window Nation customers have been singing our praises for years. With fast, local service and a 96% customer satisfaction rating, the highest in the industry, it's no wonder. Here are real stories, real results from satisfied Window Nation customers.
I researched window companies for the last
We Grow Hair Indy, they're the gold standard when it comes to hair restoration, and they're ready to help you out today. Online, it's WeGrowHairIndy.com. Northwest side, that'd be building number 2 up there at the Pyramids. Again, they are the gold standard. I'd say first off, just check out online. It is WeGrowHairIndy.com. You'll see plenty of before and after pictures and videos. And I think it's a nice introduction into what they can offer you, and really you see the results. And obviously, you want to know a lot about the process and what leads to those results, but I think you'll be pretty blown away by what the product looks like, what the end result is. And then from there, certainly contact them for a free evaluation, private evaluation, or virtual evaluation. Again, that is WeGrowHairIndy.com. Up on the northwest side, the Pyramids, building number 2, the gold standard for hair restoration. We Grow Hair Indy.
Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Happy Friday. You've made it to game day. If you're an Indiana Hoosier football fan, they'll play in the college football semifinal game later on tonight. We'll tell you about that in a second. But last night, the Fiesta Bowl, Miami with an incredible 31-27 win over Mississippi. The final 7 minutes, James, boy, to that game were bananas. Man, was that fun.
Yeah, well, it was fun if you're Miami. It was god-awful if you were Ole Miss. But, yeah, back-and-forth contest, and the Canes get the last laugh.
Carson Beck scored with 18 seconds remaining in that wild fourth quarter. The teams combined, Kevin, for 25 points in the final 7 minutes of that football game. And as you said, kind of a mid-range Hail Mary chance for Mississippi to take a win at the very end. I mean, it went right down to it.
Yeah, I get the SEC hatred is quite abundant, but I think the Ole Miss story, I was disappointed to see it come to an end. I just think the Trinidad Chambliss and some of the plays he made in that game, and yeah, I was rooting, frankly, for Ole Miss in that game. But man, what great theater! And boy, Miami, I get that their discipline probably was a bit questioned, rightfully so at times last night, but they've got some individual dudes, and Malachi Tony's playmaking speaks for itself. And, you know, Carson Beck has been one of the more probably criticized quarterbacks in college football here over the last couple of years. And when they needed some big-time throws in that final drive, I thought he made several of them. I believe they had 4 third-down conversions on that game-winning touchdown drive. I thought they were going to have to settle for a field goal and potentially a lengthy field goal to send the game into overtime. But Beck made some big throws, and now they will play in their own backyard. I did take a gander at the national championship ticket prices when the final gun went off last night. Anybody take a stab at the cheapest ticket I saw?
Probably upper deck, $875.
To get into the game last night or get into the game tonight for IU?
National title. Week from
Monday. You're not getting in for anything less than $1,000. So I'm going to go 1,800?
3,100.
Oh my God. 875 will be the steal of all steals.
3,100. I thought maybe you could get like that obstructed view corner top row for like $900, something like that.
Transfer the 529. Try to explain its educational purpose if you attend the national championship game. Maybe see if you can get your funds that way.
I was about to say, Jeff, I think 800 might cover parking down there.
What was the Notre Dame ticket last year?
It was definitely in the comma range. I'd have to think back. I don't remember it being that high. So, yeah, there you go. Early look at a week from Monday.
All right, and of course, later on tonight, the Peach Bowl, Indiana with a rematch at Oregon, 6:30 airtime here on The Fan. Hoosiers 14-0, Oregon 13-1. Last time these two teams played, Indiana was ranked 7th, Oregon was ranked 3rd. 30-20 win for the Hoosiers in Eugene. They outgained Oregon in that one, 326 yards to 267 yards. 186 yards passing for Dante Moore. He was sacked 6 times in that one. Hoosiers forced 2 turnovers. You get that defense showing up again for Indiana tonight, and things could go just the way they want to go, James.
Yeah, I mean, their defense is one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country. So that'll certainly be a problem for Oregon to contain or try to deal with. But I will say, again, it comes down to a lot of explosive play. You saw it last night, where you have a team down and then suddenly a couple of different plays. You know, first play of the third quarter, I think, for Ole Miss, right, when they got the long run for a touchdown. Those are the types of plays I just feel like IU obviously has to avoid to try to make sure that Oregon doesn't get, more momentum and hope as they play in this game. Because I think if you just play straight up and wear them down, they'll eventually realize, we ain't number one in the country.
All right, that comes your way later on tonight. Again, 6:30 airtime and the pregame show, and then 7:30 the kick. You can watch it on ESPN. Sean McDonough will have the play-by-play, and he will join us at 8 o'clock here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Yesterday, the Indianapolis Colts put a big punctuation mark. I guess you would call it a period. I don't know. As ellipsis or period, do you think at the very end there? I don't know for the Indianapolis Colts.
I have no idea. I mean, I'm trying to think of back to the AP style. I guess I'll put
it's been a minute. Yeah.
Maybe.
But anyway, Chris Ballard, I guess one of the takeaways I had yesterday, Kevin Bowen, need to get younger and faster on defense. Okay. Where was that for the last 9 years?
Yeah, we can get more into it certainly on the other side, but that was a question I had entering yesterday. Okay, from a somewhat tangible standpoint, what needs to change in 2026? And he was very clear that yes, getting younger, getting faster on defense. So how exactly that looks, we'll await here the rest of the offseason. But again, expect that side of the ball to get the attention. And they don't have tons of resources, but we'll see how much they can create here coming up in the next couple months.
I just have a question for you, actually, too, James. Do you still have your juju? Do you still have your shimmer?
I will say that is an insane conversation to share publicly, because I'm not going to lie to you. After it all kind of died down, Kevin, and I'm going through the transcript and writing up the story, I was just thinking to myself, boy, if I have to ask my GM if he still has his confidence, it's probably time to move on.
Well, he satisfied whatever she was looking for. The answer satisfied her. He is remaining in place, and the Colts will re-rack it and do it again. Juju Shimmer, I like it. NFL tomorrow, of course, the playoffs get underway. The Rams at the Panthers, 4:30 p.m. The Packers play at the Bears. That one starts at 8 p.m. I know, Mark, what we talk about getting ready for tonight's game. What do the next 24 hours look like for you, my friend?
Not eating cheese.
Oh, you're going anti-cheese?
Can get it done.
Wow. You're just going all in on this one.
Gosh.
No, yeah. I think the Bears can take them. They already have, but each of the last 4 Bears-Packers games have all come down to the final play. I don't know if my heart could handle that tomorrow night if that's the case again. So let's not make that 5th straight. So hopefully the Bears can handle them. Packers are kind of limping in. They've lost 4 in a row. We'll see what happens.
Have you properly indoctrinated the children?
Yes. They've asked, why don't you like the team in green? I said, because they're hideous, they're ugly, they're disgusting, they're horrible human beings. You should not root for them ever. And they're like, what? And then they're getting a whole layout. I've got like a whiteboard of just teams we hate. Packers, Cardinals, Brewers. There's a whole list. So there's going to be a test at the end of the week.
I'm picturing Mark with like a Venn diagram of like, okay, we do this. We hate the Packers over here. Here we hate the Cardinals. If they overlap in any degree, we really hate them now.
They're wondering why the dartboard has a picture of Aaron Rodgers on it, and there's cigarette burns on it, and everything like that. Yeah,
I'm sure you all have your kids in like the words they can't say. I feel like Mark will tell them, well, the exception is if you're talking about Packers.
100%, James. You might be miking our house. Yes,
that was the appropriate response in hockey for any mention of the Detroit Red Wings in my house as well. Kids were allowed to swear at the Red Wings. That's just how that goes. Busy day. Look, if you're a sports fan and you're just looking to get through the weekend, Kevin, I will cede this to you. This weekend of sports, you got Indiana playing Oregon tonight at 7:30. Tomorrow, while you're waiting for stuff to happen, you got Nebraska at Indiana at noon, Penn State at Purdue at 2, Clemson at Notre Dame at 6, and then those NFL games I was just talking about. And then you got 3 NFL games coming up on Sunday. So, yes, if you're a sports fan, they may have to physically separate you from whatever chair you choose to stay in all weekend long.
Look at you throwing Clemson, Notre Dame in there.
I did that just for you.
How many people are listening to the audience who think will forego an NFL wildcard game to watch Notre Dame against Clemson?
The guy at my left? The guy to my left?
Will you actually do that?
1,000%. There's no chance in hell.
He's not going to miss Micah Shrewsbury. Who knows what he's going to do at the end of the
Notre
game?
Dame. That's a big win. That's a borderline quad one win for Notre Dame if they can get it tomorrow back at home. And IU Nebraska, you just kind of said it casually. What a huge game. I mean, Nebraska basketball. That is a big one inside
I didn't
of
mean
Assembly
casually.
Hall.
He's just running down the schedule
Right,
of everything.
but I'm just saying,
yeah.
like, that game naturally, when you say it out loud, it's like, oh, yeah, who cares? But that's a big one. Nebraska, undefeated on the year. They've been one of the better stories in college basketball this season. So, yeah, great slate. We'll add, we saw Mike McDaniel getting the axe yesterday. So that now rounds out to 8 head coach openings here as we, I think, have reached maybe the end of the old Black Monday lingering cycle here. So I guess if you want to look at the Colts schedule, 6 of the 8 wins they had were against fired head coaches.
Well, that we'll just give the Colts credit for that.
Sure. They sent them packing, right?
Yeah. And something that's starting to come into the fore for certainly everybody who listens, but James and I in particular. Battle of the Titans in high school basketball last night. Fishers holds off Pike 76-67. I say holds off because they led by 22 in the third quarter and then had to just kind of hold off a furious fourth quarter rally. But the number one team, Fishers, wins by 9. Ethan Hillsman led the way for the Tigers with 20 points. Kai McGrew had 16 points, 11 rebounds. It's starting to get to be that time. You and I are going to have to start picking gyms to go visit once or twice a week now, James.
I was going to say, did you go?
No, I did not go to that game last night. I kept watching it, yeah.
I got my ticket.
I was watching it on Twitter, looking at updates.
Jeff, when I got there was somebody behind me asking if they were still selling tickets, and the lady looked at him like he had like 5 eyes, and she was like, "Well, no, it's sold out now, young man." So I got in there. It was amazing, and shout out to, I believe his name is Zachary Cooper.
Cooper Zachary.
Cooper Zachary.
Yeah.
Boy.
Into the first.
That kid, special. I mean, I've seen him play a lot now, but boy, he can shoot that thing, as my pops would say.
He had 12 points, I think, buzzer-beating threes in 2 of the 4 quarters, right?
Yeah, I mean, just absolute haymaker shots, and, you got him talking to the crowd and talking to Jeff Teague, and it was amazing. I loved it.
All right, that's what's happening. Anything else you guys want to throw in? That's a pretty busy weekend, a pretty busy check down for you right there. We will get to the nitty-gritty.
Did we mention Rick Carlisle win number 1,000 there?
That's right there on my thing to talk about. But, yeah, I was going to do a whole segment in a moment here. But, yeah, win number 1,000, and we're going to hear some of that postgame in a moment here. 114-112, Pascal Siakam. Man, is he carrying his team. He had a 3-point play with just under 12 seconds to go last night. They kind of made the Hornets break down in their final try of getting a bucket there, but this team just keeps coming. I'll say this, they're undermanned. They got all kinds of problems going on. They do some things. They don't always take care of the ball, but they had a chance last night, and they got it done. Finally, first win since when, Kevin?
Yeah, first one in a month. I think it was just a layup by Siakam. Don't think it was a 3-point play.
I thought he got the end one.
He has the layup, and then McConnell has a McConnell on the inbounds pass to seal it. I thought very fitting way there.
He was so
Pacers.
fired up.
Did you see him in the
It looked like it was
done.
Game 6 of the conference finals.
Charles Huff going nuts and trying to say that he got a timeout there. McConnell was outstanding, and really, the Pacers needed it because Andrew Nembhard was out. He was kind of a late scratch. So 23 points for TJ McConnell. I thought kind of a cool scene post-game, seeing Rick Carlisle probably show an ounce of emotion for Rick Carlisle.
That had to feel good.
A couple of the videos I thought were really cool. The Pacers had one where you got Dirk in it, and Mark Cuban, and Luka, and Tony Romo was in it. Some of the Dallas background for Rick Carlisle there. So yes, first win in a month for the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, win number 1,000 for Rick. And you were talking about TJ McConnell in the post-game presser. I was watching it last night, and he's like, "Yeah, I had that air ball. I had to go do something," and he did. He TJ McConnelled him. That's what you do. Just take the ball away and kick it out for a 3,
I can always
baby.
depend on the Hornets to play bad basketball when you need it.
Did you see Brandon Miller got ejected, too, in the third quarter?
Yeah, he could have used them, honestly.
All right. We'll talk Colts and Pacers and Indiana in a college football playoff semifinal. Man, where do we start? We'll figure it out next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's Mark. New year, new me. Isn't that what the kids say these days? Well, we've reached the new year, and if you're still having HVAC concerns or issues, don't let them drag out much longer in 2026. Do what I did. Get a hold of the folks at Love Heating and Air Conditioning today. They took care of me a couple years ago, swapped out our 2-decade-old system with brand spanking new Heil equipment. It was quick, it was painless, and we've had 0 issues ever since. I can't recommend them more highly, and they'll take care of you just like your family. Give them a call. 317-353-2141 is the phone number, or you can check them out online at love-hvac.com. Set up a house call. They can see what you need if you need a tune-up, a repair, or a full-on replacement. You can also talk to customer service reps, go over all the products and services they provide and whatnot. They are the best in the business. That's because John and Chris Love are fourth-generation owners, and Love has been family-owned and operated, servicing Central Indiana and Indianapolis for over a century. Again, 317-353-2141 is the phone number, or check them out online, love-hvac.com.
harping on the start of the season, and I go, yeah, I mean, that's important, but we got to find a way to finish the season. And that is one of the major issues we have. I mean, you can go back to 21, 23, 24, 25, 4 years. We have not finished, and we've got to evaluate and figure out why. I'm not going to sit up here and say I got an answer for that right now, but that is real. I mean, because we've not finished.
Well, the season is finished again before the playoffs start. That's Chris Ballard yesterday at his end-of-season press conference. It was attended and participated in by both James Boyd and Kevin Bowen, and you heard it live here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. What was different about this one, Kevin, as opposed to what we heard that last year and the year before that?
Not much, I guess, is probably the easiest way to put it. I mean, we touched on it a little bit there in the first segment. The defensive focus sounds like will be a big priority here this offseason. So I do think you acknowledge that. That is different. But again, outside of that, you could have paused the video yesterday and said, what year do you think this is? And you could have guessed any of the previous 5 years. So, yeah, it's pretty par for the course when it comes to that. I didn't think he was maybe as wildly animated as usual. Maybe not as feisty as usual.
More
not
subdued.
as much cackling. And, like, if you're going to rank the Ballard years, the egregious nature of this past season, I don't think this one is necessarily atop the list. So maybe that's where some of it comes from. But, yeah, I thought, honestly, I just thought the most ridiculous, I guess, part of the entire press conference was him relaying that Carly Ursay-Gordon's number one question to him was, do you still have your juju or shimmer? I was dumbfounded when I heard that.
Get that season ticket money in, folks. You got your shimmer back.
Like, my thought was, that to me seems like a question you ask, like, you're the Syracuse athletic director, and you ask that to Jim Boeheim in year 28. Or you're Robert Kraft, and you ask that to Bill Belichick in year 19. Maybe Baltimore, asking that to John Harbaugh.
Right.
I feel like you asked that at, like, preschool. You got your shimmer today? You feeling good? How you doing, Dave?
The Nora question.
Like,
do you need a hug before you come in?
Like, ask Nora, how was your day? Do you have your glow? Good.
To me, it's like you ask that of someone that's accomplished something. Like, do you still feel like you can, whatever, get it done at a high level? And to me, like, that's the number one question you ask a person that hasn't accomplished anything. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it when he said that. And like, that was the top question. I was blown away by that.
I just had to, I guess, choke back a laugh because I was like, this is really weird. And there's certain stories that I'm sure we all have in our lives. And I was like, boy, I would have had to get my arm bent backwards or something for me to get that out of me. I would just volunteer that information. Because, again, I think if you're asking your GM in year 9, going into year 10, if you still have your shimmer and swagger, so to speak.
Tells you everything you need to know.
Exactly. I was thinking that is not a vote of confidence in the fan department. So
it was a reminder for me, James, sorry to interrupt. It was a reminder to me that I've always thought the Ursays hold Chris Ballard in high regard. They hold him in higher regard than I even thought.
Explain that a little bit more.
Like, the fact that you have thought so highly of this individual that you're asking them the number one question as they've reached this, whatever, I think it's fair to say an embarrassing state currently for your franchise, that the first question is more of, do you still have confidence, belief? It's not of, do you have a plan, or why haven't you got it done? What do you think has gone wrong? They view him even higher than I thought. Again, that's a question to me. You're asking the old individual that you're curious if they are walking up the 18th hole or not in terms of their career. Whatever. Mac, I'm trying to think of these like older coaches that have hung around for a while. Mac Brown, for example, in college football here recently. You know, some of these types of coaches.
Buzz Williams.
Well,
you're giving Buzz. That's a couple of days now this week that Buzz has gotten strays.
Kevin's got a thing for Buzz Williams.
You know, you're asking some of those individuals that, like, wait, what's their age? in 9 years, Scott Dolson's asking that of Kurt Signetti, something like that. Again, a coach that's accomplished a ton, and you're just kind of curious of like, hey, I mean,
have you had enough?
In jobs like this, 9 years is a lot, good or bad. If you've had a good run, it's a lot of years. So I thought that was just one of the wilder statements I've heard. And yeah, we can get into this a little bit more, but I don't know. I think there's a couple of the Carly Ursay-Gordon elements to this last 6 months that I'm just kind of like, And that was certainly one of them.
While we're talking about that, Mark, cut number 2 from the Colts, on how much patience the Ursay family has showed towards Chris Ballard. He did address that yesterday as well. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on this.
Along the same lines, there's not this week has shown us there's not a lot of patience in this league. The Ursay family has shown you a lot of patience.
Absolutely.
Right? 10 years. How much does that weigh on you and the responsibility to make good on that at some point?
Well,
it's not saying you never won anything. Just saying.
Yeah, no, it's like it doesn't mean you go out and go do a bunch of desperate things. No, you still got to be sound and do the right thing for the organization. But look, I feel urgency every year. So
no more urgent this year than last year, apparently.
Yeah. Nothing he could say in that position would really.
The grin on your face right now says a lot. I wish everybody could see that.
Yeah, I'm trying to choose my words very correctly. Well, I'll just put it as plainly as I can. When Stephen Holder, shout out to my colleague at ESPN, throws that question out there to Chris Ballard about him being extended more patience than the rest of the NFL when you haven't delivered, and he slides in there, and this is Holder, and this is not a shot at him at all, but, not like you haven't won anything. That is fair, but also you haven't won anything recently. And I think to tie the question that Holder asked Chris Ballard, and the same one I threw at him about what's your greatest accomplishment, when you have to go back to 2018, back to 2020, and then the rest of it is we were kind of close a couple years, and hey, we were there, we were right there. That is not a ringing endorsement. And so when he said, I'm still confident because, quote, we've done it, and at times I was thinking, boy, I'm trampling Kevin and Mike Chappell and others, but I just want to follow up there because I'm like, wait a second. What do you mean you've done it? Are you referencing something from a couple presidencies ago, or back when I was, a high school reporter, or in college? Like, back when everyone's lives were totally different. I mean, I don't even know how many kids you all had, but Kevin, I know you didn't have as many. So, like, the world has changed since you last won something of significance, and you're saying, well, we've done it. Not in the last half decade. So that to me was a little bit weird. And also, and I get that it's kind of a question that pigeonholes you into a response, but how close are you? Because when you made the Sauce trade, granted you were healthy at the time, you thought you were a top 4 team in the NFL. That's what he said. And so you thought you were probably a player away from let's get into real contention and go for it. Don't blame you for that. But now, seeing as you are coming off a major injury to the quarterback you want to have back, you lost your last 7 games of the year, you basically said that good teams don't lose 7 in a row to end the year. Then what are you? Are you a good team? Are you a bad team? Are you close? Because you can't sit up here and say you're building something and explain that to this fan base. I feel like the fan base should be disgusted with anyone who tries to tell them, well, you know what? We're still building. I don't know how close we are, but we'll see come 2026. No, you need to be contending next year. Like, and their plan right now is to run it back. So I get it. You might not want to commit to that in January, but come September, October, when we get to playing football again, and especially in those winter months, we can't be sitting here again and saying, oh, I was building something. Oh, different season. We were close. No one wants to hear that you were close. You've been close to doing nothing for the last half decade. You've done nothing.
I'm going to build on that, too, because not only are you running it back, but arguably 2 of your most important players, I won't say 2 best, but 2 of your most important players are coming off major injuries. Obviously, the quarterback is coming off the Achilles injury. We don't know what even the first month or 2 are going to look like. And DeForest Buckner, like, That was a pretty big injury he had with that neck this year.
Stretch it to 3, Javarius Ward situation.
Yeah,
as
but
well.
I'm talking 2 of your best 3 probably.
I'd put Ward pretty high on that list.
$60 million.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'd say whatever 3 of your top 5 if you want to get.
And can I throw this one?
I just wonder if he's even going to be back. Yeah,
that's certainly a question that we will have to not answer, or rather he will have to answer and we'll react to in the coming months. One other thing I wanted to point out, Kevin, and I should have followed up on it, and the people who criticize our questions, I can get defensive sometimes. This was a critique. And I kind of missed it in the moment because I'm trying to keep up with other things I wanted to ask. But when he says that Daniel Jones is their short and long-term answer, I personally feel like I kind of let him off the hook with that, because although Daniel's a very tough dude, I mean, the guy played on a broken leg trying to get you to the playoffs. I can't knock that. He's never had anyone say he's not tough or smart or dependable when it comes to caring about the game of football. But he has only played 16 games in his career once. And I believe he just finished his 7th season. So when you say he's our short and long-term answer, that is ridiculous. He should not be your long-term answer. And I get you might want to say that publicly and to perhaps make sure that he comes back and you have him as your quarterback in 2026 and all of that. But realistically, he is not your long-term answer. He has been nobody's long-term answer because he cannot stay healthy. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's an element you're betting on hope with some of this plan.
Oh, boy.
Which is certainly a dangerous game.
Seems like a lot of hope.
I was about to say, I hope to marry Kaylani one day.
They got a bucket full of coins and they're throwing them in the well.
Hope I see her one day.
Again,
over your shoulder, Mark.
I think there's a little bit of what was the biggest, how did he view the biggest area of improvement for 2026? Yesterday, he said defense. We got to get younger. We got to get faster. And again, that's where if I am above Chris Ballard, if I'm Carly Ursay-Gordon, I'm met with, wait a minute, this was your defense. I mean, I think if you were to label which side of the ball has Ballard had, I mean, he's had plenty of influence on both sides, but he wanted the defense to change from the Chuck Pagano era. He wanted more of that Eberflus system, more of that Gus Bradley system, and then realized philosophically, hey, we need to now tweak it. Okay, here comes Anarumo, and now it's like, wait a minute, the personnel, I mean, they've drafted more defensive guys than offensive guys. They're a top 10 highest paid defense. Now, all of a sudden, it needs to get younger and faster. It was almost like I have to clean up the mess that I have created on that side of the ball, which, again, if I am Carly, that to me is met with a little bit of, huh? Like what? And it doesn't appear to be the case there. So, and then you just have trickle down of questions that we can get to as the offseason rolls along of, okay, Lou Anarumo's never really been a guy that plays a lot of young guys. Is he going to be more willing to that? How instant impact are these guys going to have to be for you? Exactly what does it look like in trying to get younger and faster defensively when you don't have a first-round pick, when you don't have, at least on paper right now, ample cap space? So those are all questions I think now we can get into more as free agency nears here in a couple months.
It's going to be an interesting and fascinating offseason to see how the Colts proceed from here. Reminder, they don't have a first-round draft pick this year. They don't have a first-round draft pick next year. And they're going to try to get this team on the right track and get it going. It's the Fan Morning Show with James Boyd, Kevin Bowen. I'm Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton, getting ready for the Bears and Packers tomorrow. We're all getting ready for Indiana tonight. We'll talk more about that with Sean McDonough, who'll be calling the game on ESPN in just a moment. But we've got to talk about Rick Carlisle picking up win number 1,000 last night in Charlotte. 114-112 as James shows the camera his candy striped pants. But Rick Carlisle showing some great emotion in that locker room last night. Here's what it sounded like when he entered the room.
All right. Congratulations. Listen, when we first got here 5 years ago, Coach said we celebrate every win, but tonight's no regular win. 11 coaches in the NBA have reached 1,000 career wins, ever. And tonight, we're celebrating you. We're not watching that play. You want to keep coaching?
You made our city proud, all right, even with all the difficulty. Unbelievable, all right? Thank you for the experience for the first 4.5 years. Let's keep taking it up from here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so it took a while, Kevin. How long did you say it's been again since they had a victory?
A month. Yes, a month from today. So Rick Carlisle becomes the third player coach, whatever you want to define it, third human in the history of the NBA to win 1,000 games, win an NBA title as a coach, win an NBA title as a player.
That was fantastic to watch last night.
Rare air right there.
I was going to say Hall of Fame resume right there, baby.
Phil Jackson, Pat Riley, Rick Carlisle.
I'm taking Rick in one-on-one against all of them. Rick is giving Pat Riley the business.
I'll take it. But this is a team that's obviously going through an extraordinary time. And again, Nembhard missing a game last night. It feels like every night something crazy is going to happen. I think it was Denary who pointed out near the beginning of the game last night. It was right pregame. I was watching. I think it's the 22nd different starting lineup they've had this year, Kevin.
Oh, was it that high already? I remember it was 18 last week. So, yeah, I mean, they've had a slew of them, certainly. And, for those that weren't watching last night, I get the Fiesta Bowl was outstanding, but I was flipping back and forth there at the end. I mean, it was great theater, great drama. Siakam, a huge driving layup, TJ McConnell with a McConnell to kind of ice it. And he was huge. 23 points for him. Really needed Jay Huff. I thought hit some big shots as well for the Pacers. So, they really, really needed that. Now 4 straight at home as they shift back here to Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Yep,
they'll be taking on the Heat tomorrow night. So I just wonder if the wins start to come a little easier. Sometimes everything gets tight and everything, you're talking about different lineups and all that kind of stuff. It's just got to feel great to fly home last night with a victory for the first time in a while and get that, as they say, the cliche, get that gorilla off your back. That's not just a monkey. That thing was like a 600-pound gorilla on your shoulders.
You're most confident in what tonight for Indiana?
Most confident that the interior lines on both sides, offense and defense, push guys around and do what they did against Oregon the first time and really dominate and not let them run the football and put all kinds of pressure on the quarterback.
Running the ball. I know we put a lot of hype on Fernando Mendoza, and rightfully so. He is the Heisman Trophy winner, but you look at these performances throughout the year, especially last week's game against Alabama, you had 2 guys go for nearly 100 yards in that game, and they were doing it not on, a bunch of carries. I believe they were averaging about 4-point-something yards per attempt. So that, to me, will be the difference. And obviously, if you can run the ball, then that opens things up for Fernando Mendoza to get loose.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to fight I don't know if this is the thing I'm most confident in. I'm pretty confident in it, but I also think it's arguably the most critical element to the win tonight, and that's getting Dante Moore off his spot. I think if you are allowing Dante Moore to hit the 3, the 5-step, letting him pat the ball, letting him, see a rather clean pocket, operate in a clean pocket, he's going to make some plays. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But if you can create havoc around him, then I think you at least force him to answer a question that I don't think he's really answered yet in his collegiate career. And certainly in the first game, when you sacked him 6 times, that kind of speaks to itself. And he hadn't been sacked up until that point of the season. So I don't know if I'm maybe as confident in it as I am the Indiana run game, to your point, James, but I am still pretty confident without Stephen Daly that they can do that. I thought Oregon's offensive line had some issues against Texas Tech. Granted, Texas Tech, probably their only true strength is their D-line. But I also think that is a huge part in making sure you're playing a week from Monday.
Well, 6:30 tonight, you get all the pregame with Fish and Buck and John Herrick, and then they got the play-by-play on the radio at 7:30. And, of course, you'll be able to see all the cast and characters from ESPN getting ready for the game. And then Sean McDonough will have the call coming up at 7:30 tonight. And we are going to talk to him in just a few moments about his thoughts on this college football playoff, the relevance of the SEC, which hasn't gone away. But, man, this 3rd year in a row, they haven't had a team that will be playing in the national championship game. But mostly we'll talk about the Hoosiers and this incredible journey that they're on. That comes your way next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
1, 2, you know what to do.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Mendoza back to throw. Pressure comes again. Throws it to the end zone. And the catch is made. Is it a touchdown? Touchdown! Unbelievable! Omar Cooper with a grab, and he put his foot down. It's a score for Indiana.
For the last couple of years, my God, it's just been a blast.
Here's the snap. Here's the throw. Catch is made. And a break! Down the middle of the field goes Surratt. Touchdown! Two receivers far side, one near. He's going to throw it this. It's picked up by Aiden Fisher. He's going to go the distance. Touchdown! Here's the snap back to Mendoza. Looks to the end zone. Rolls to his right. Runs it upfield. 5-yard line. Dives. Touchdown, Indiana. And Fernando Mendoza shows you why he has multiple capabilities out there from an offensive standpoint for this Indiana football team.
The winner of the 2025 Heisman Trophy is Fernando Mendoza.
Up the middle he goes. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Kobe Martin! This Indiana football team is feeling like they can eat Illinois' lunch any moment, anytime they want to.
The Indiana Hoosiers are now the bullies of college football.
Fernando takes the snap. They pressure him. The throw to the end zone. Touchdown! Wow, what a play!
Let's go. We finally get to puff our chest out a little bit.
Now the snap to Fernando. Looks, has time, throws it deep to the end zone. He's got Becker. Touchdown! What a catch by Charlie Becker again. 31-yard play.
Number one team in the country, and they're smacking Alabama around in the Rose Bowl, and they're not done.
Talk about sending a message to the rest of the country. This is a message not only for this year and this playoff run, but for going forward. The standard is now the standard in Indiana.
Indiana, 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 what we will fight for the crimson, for the glory of you. Never doubted, never falter, in the battle, we're trying to shoot. Indiana, 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 all for you. Are you? Many men.
It's the Fan Morning Show. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd. I'm Jeff Rickard, and tonight, the college football playoff semifinal. The Indiana Hoosiers taking on the Oregon Ducks. Rematch of a regular season game, and we can't wait to get going. If you're going to watch it on ESPN Radio and you don't get the chance to listen to us tonight, you certainly want to tune in to ESPN TV. Sean McDonough has the play-by-play, and nothing screams big game more than my friend Sean McDonough on the call. Sean, it's good to talk to you again. Thanks for joining us early this morning. Everybody in Indiana, they are fired up here. I'm sure you can imagine that.
Yeah, just hearing that rejoinder that you just played would get me fired up too, even if I wasn't an Indiana fan. Great to talk to you again, Jeff, and to Kevin and James. And we're fired up too. You know, looking forward to seeing this team tonight that has been clearly the best team in the country all season long. As you guys know, it's an excellent opponent. I think it will be like last night, another really competitive, exciting game, and can't wait to get started.
Sean, can't thank you enough. Last year you joined us quite often throughout the run. You were kind of the Notre Dame, if you will, play-by-player throughout that run, and so we appreciate the time here again with obviously a different opponent, albeit you saw Indiana last year in that first-round matchup. Let's kind of start there. Curt Cignetti, what is different in your interactions maybe before last year's opener versus what you've seen from him this year from afar and now obviously up close for tonight?
I really didn't notice anything different. You know, I think that's a part of his success, excuse me, is he's pretty consistent, the same guy, more often than not. You know, he has a great belief in himself, his staff, the players, the system. And, you know, I thought it was interesting yesterday. His facial expressions have become a thing, especially after the Rose Bowl against Alabama. He was asked about it yesterday. And he said, you know, one of the reasons he kind of wears that expression all the time is he tells his players he wants them to be the same, play the same from play one to play whatever, 150. So he doesn't want to be up there, up and down with his emotions on the sideline and not practicing what he preaches. So not much different in our interaction with him yesterday than it was last year.
Sean, thanks again for the time, and congratulations on being named the National Sportscaster of the Year from the National Sports Media Association. Big honor there, and rightfully and deservedly so, going to you. And looking at this matchup again, what do you think could be different from when we saw these teams a couple months ago?
Well, I think if you're Oregon, the number one thing you need to figure out is not give up sacks. It was unusual for them to give up sacks. They've only given up 16 all year, and 6 of them were in the game against Indiana. They had 8 out of their 14 games they didn't give up a sack. So I think they need to figure out the protection. I give Brian Haynes and the defensive staff and players a lot of credit for that. They're hard to defend that way, as you guys know. A lot of simulated pressures. They move people around. They have talented people who can get after the quarterback. So I think for Oregon, if it's going to be different, that has to be job one for them.
Sean McDonough, ESPN, has the play-by-play of the game tonight. Indiana and Oregon joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Sean, you've seen so much college football over the years, and when I look at this Indiana team, the thing that really jumps out to me is how physical they are, and then at the skill positions, how strong and fast they are as well. They look like what used to be like an SEC team. What do you see when you watch this team getting ready for the game?
Yeah, they are definitely that. And I think just the most impressive thing, I don't ever remember preparing for a game where the team looked like they were so well coached, that executed so well in all of the things that you would say are important in the game. I mean, they're the best team in the country on third down when they're on offense, on third down on defense. They're third best in the country behind Texas A&M, Virginia. They're plus 18 in the turnover margin. That's tied with Arizona for the best in the country. They don't give up explosive plays. That's another big thing to go back to the previous question about tonight. Oregon has more explosive plays in the country, 20-yard plays or more, 95 of them. Indiana doesn't give those up. They don't hurt themselves with penalties. You guys have seen it all year long. I mean, if you're a coach and a staff and you're looking at your team and you want them to demonstrate that they're a beautifully coached team, they really do everything that would suggest, wow, this is a really well-coached team. So I think that's the thing that jumps out to me. They have guys who love football, play hard. Obviously, they have the best quarterback in the country. Well, we shall see, right? That's another interesting backdrop to this tonight. The NFL people, I think, look at Fernando and his Dante Moore as 1 and 1A, and probably the top 2 picks in the draft. And talking to Mel Kiper, emailing with him, he's not sure which one is number 1 and which one's number 2. So that's not the most important thing tonight, but it is certainly a small part of the story.
You certainly know that voice, Sean McDonough. He will be on the call here in about 12 hours. I guess we'll be in the first quarter at this point of Indiana and Oregon tonight, of course, on ESPN. Let's focus on Mendoza for a second and maybe more of just kind of away from on the field stuff. He's certainly quite the unique personality. The Heisman Trophy speech, I know, had my wife in tears about 15 seconds into it. Your interactions with him and just what you've observed from him maybe away from football.
Well, yesterday was the first time I've ever talked to him in person, and I share your thoughts. I watched him obviously give the Heisman speech and had seen him interviewed other times and seen him featured previously and always came away super impressed. I don't know how you could be anything but, and that was just more of the same yesterday. It was wonderful to hear his teammates talk about him. It's not phony. He's not trying hard to win public affection. That's the way he is around them. And, his 3 teammates that we talked to in the meeting yesterday and his coaches all said the same thing. He became a team leader very quickly because of, his infectious personality and his character. So, he's the whole package. I think, as you said, you could debate, is he the number 1 pick, the number 2 pick, but I think whoever drafts him is going to be awfully happy that they did.
Sean, last one from me, and I'm just curious from a broadcasting standpoint, but what is the preparation like for a game of this magnitude? If you could just kind of take us through your behind the scenes to becoming the voice of this moment for so many people.
Yeah, it's intense. It would have been a little easier for our group if we had the other game last night, only because, we had both Miami and Ole Miss in this playoff, and we had both of them in the regular season. As a matter of fact, we turned out to have Miami in the most important game of the regular season, maybe for any team, because we had their opener against Notre Dame, and ultimately that's the game, the win that got them into the field ahead of Notre Dame. Had that game gone the other way, the Irish, I'm sure, would have been in, and Miami wouldn't have even been in the playoffs. We were very familiar with those two teams, not anywhere near as familiar with Indiana and Oregon because, as you guys know, ABC and ESPN, we don't have the broadcast rights for the Big Ten anymore, and I really miss it. Love going to those places and love Big Ten football and those venues and coaches and the people, the SIDs. So really miss it, but it's been fun to dive back into this. As you said, we had Indiana last year, so brought out my spotting charts, but to answer your question here, I've got a 98-page press release from Oregon with all their notes and stats, a huge clip file of features about the players and coaches, very similar information from Indiana. ESPN has a great research staff that helps us. I've watched the regular season game that these two teams played, the 2 or 3 recent games that they've both played, including the games in the playoff here. Meetings yesterday with the players and coaches. I'm sitting here furiously jotting as many notes onto my chart as I can. And then once the game starts, the thing is to not have the temptation to get all this information out. Just use what's pertinent. Hopefully it's a close game and we don't tell a lot of personal stories, even though we love doing that. Because it's part, especially for the people, right? That we'll have a huge audience tonight. A lot of these people will not have seen either one of these teams have played this year and won't know much about their players. So, you try to pick the right stories to humanize the people as it goes along.
Thanks for joining us, Sean. I know it's early for you. We really appreciate you taking the time to get up with us. I just wish sooner or later you and I can talk more hockey again soon, but we got business tonight. So.
Well, let's do that. I'll be rolling into hockey here after the national championship game, and would love to do that.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
There he is. I think the best in the business right now on TV for big-time games, Sean McDonough.
Yeah, I was texting, honestly, with my in-laws last night. It was, we were talking about, last night's crew versus this night's crew. If you are here watching tonight, I think you'd frankly rather have Sean McDonough. And I think Greg McElroy's really good from a color analyst as well. So I think it's the right crew. Mark, I'm trying to think. We had him on. Was it not before? Was it all 4?
All 4.
All 4 of Notre Dame's games last year?
Yep.
He joined us the day of the national title. Of course, national title, he'll be on I assume he's on the radio call again this year. So maybe we'll talk with him again a week from Monday.
He said his phone's on. So.
From down in Miami. And yes, I really enjoy him. Obviously, the hockey background. And, he's really right up there with, I think, any of our play-by-play voices. And just hearing the intro, Mark, one more time, and hearing Sean McDonough's voice, how do you not get a little bit more amped up? This will not need to be another day where I have 2 cups of coffee. This is a natural... You create the second cup of coffee. So I'm still wired from last night, guys. I don't know how you felt, but
it was hard to go to sleep after that
that's
game
one of those
last night.
where, I was tossing and turning a week ago because Micah Shrewsbury should have ended that. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Are we back on Micah?
Shouldn't have, we should have done something to that ref. I'll just leave it at that. But last night it was epic. And 4 lead changes in the final 7 minutes of a football game?
They had a chance to win it after a team scored with 18 seconds left.
Which in college football, you don't usually get that.
Right.
And
that was crazy.
And they kind of got the mini Hail Mary. And
they had a couple seam balls to get them in position to win the game on a walk-off. That was fun.
And the Carson Beck emotion, I'm not a big Carson Beck guy, but I was struck by the emotion. And I think he's been probably one of the more, criticized college athletes that we've had over the last year plus. There were a lot of Georgia fans that I think were done with him and were happy to see him move along. And James, you and I talk to Stephen Holder quite often. I think his opinion of Carson Beck this season has been a little bit of a roller coaster at times. I think people have said he's, a game manager at best.
Think of last night. Didn't he get sacked on one of them and he missed the guy that was wide open? Yeah. I was thinking, oh boy, Stephen Holder, I hope you have a heart medication next to you or you're drinking some water here because I'm like, this has to stress you.
Right. Yeah. And then on that final drive, 4 third down conversions, several third and longs.
Yeah.
As well to keep things going. So
he played a terrific game and it was fun to see the emotion between him and Mario Cristobal at the very end there. But also, I talked about how electric he was and fun to watch. I know they didn't win the game last night, but if you're Ole Miss and you got Trinidad Chambliss, don't you feel like you got a chance to win?
Yeah, you do. And he gave him a chance to win, certainly. Now, my question is is he trying to get the petition?
He's trying to get
come
one
back
more
or
year of
whatever?
eligibility, yeah.
We'll see how that shakes out for them next year. Otherwise, that could change a lot of things for Ole Miss. But you got to tip your hat to a program that has been put through the ringer and been under a different type of spotlight because of all the Lane Kiffin nonsense. So for the fact that they went out there and were essentially a play away from going to the national championship without their head coach who ditched them for greener pastures, so to speak, that was commendable.
Well, it's different, but you've talked about it all week long, Kevin, the fact that the coordinators for Oregon are getting ready to go to new jobs, and they're going through a similar type thing, although it's a little bit different that Ole Miss was going through, and yet Ole Miss was right there knocking on the door last night. What do we expect from do we have any idea what we can expect with their coordinators having their attention divided this past week?
Yeah, I think it's a huge advantage to Indiana. I guess, it's kind of hard to parse out exactly, what the time was for Will Stein, their offensive coordinator, and their DC, and, exactly how much time was split between their new jobs in Kentucky and Cal versus the actual play calling itself. But yeah, Chambliss, to go back to him for a second, he is a special talent. And that story, that was a likable SEC story.
And by the way,
if you don't live in that part of the country, there ain't many likable SEC stories. But I found myself openly. First off, I love the Powder Blues.
I was going to mention that. That just adds to it.
I found myself openly rooting for Ole Miss to win that game. So, Chambliss and Charlie Weiss Jr. I guess people are super, super high on him, and talk about him from an NFL point of view. Maybe that helped to have him, continuing to call plays there. And, when Lacey ripped off the big run, because Miami really controlled so many aspects of the game, time of possession, running the football.
I think the first time in college football playoff history, they had 4 drives in the same game of 13 or more plays.
Really? Yeah. Which again, I not to get ahead of ourselves, but I can't imagine that being the case a week from Monday. And did it not feel like a ton of Miami dudes got hurt during the game, or was I just
banged up? Yeah,
imagining things. And then one of their safeties gets kicked out for targeting, and I think that means you're out for the first half of the next game if it happens in the second half. So again, these are all conversations we can have next week, but we got to take care of business tonight.
Yeah, I want to go back to, because I don't think we talk about enough. Those powder blue uniforms were fire, James. I think I personally think they're the coolest uniforms in college football this year.
I haven't noticed a lot of them. I feel like I'm such a boring viewer of football.
The guy's wearing candy striped pants today.
No, but people complain about the broadcasters and the uniforms, and I feel like I never noticed those things until people tell me that was an issue. But yes, the Powder Blues looked good last night.
Man, I like that. But that is one half of the semifinals, and Miami moves on. They await the winner of tonight's game between Indiana and Oregon. We'll be talking about that throughout the morning. People are getting fired up, though, Mark, and I don't know if you've got different burners here or you have Bears Legion fans calling in or texting in, but Nick, for example, says, I just look forward to the Hoosiers and the Bears winning to calm my anger level down. You got a lot of people checking in with play the Packers sounder louder.
Oh.
Stuff like
that. You don't
that.
have to ask twice. I'll play it all day. Let's get it going.
I didn't know we had so many Bears fans.
Doing here?
Packers suck.
Mark, I didn't realize this.
One more time.
Packers suck.
Oh, beautiful.
Joel A. Erickson shared yesterday the oldest coach in the playoffs for the NFC is 46-year-old Matt LaFleur.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wild.
I know.
The 7 teams.
I know.
And he doesn't even look like he's in his 40s.
Is Jim Harbaugh the oldest coach left then?
Probably.
He has to be.
Trying to think.
He's in his mid-60s.
Well, Sean,
right?
who's older, Peyton or Harbaugh?
Maybe Peyton.
Oh, that's true.
But yeah, the NFC, Mike McDonald, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Nick Sirianni, obviously Ben Johnson for Mark, Dave Canales. Yeah, it is wild that 46 years old is the oldest head coach.
How old is Mike Tomlin now, though, too? Is he got to be? He's in his 50s, right?
Well, black don't crack.
He's 53.
Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh are both 62.
You know who I feel like also looks the same? Not only Tomlin, I feel like John Harbaugh, looks the exact same since he was hired. Now, there are some other individuals I think have aged since they've been hired, but John Harbaugh, definitely not.
And John Harbaugh throws you off, too, because everybody's like, well, Andy Reid, like me, might be close to hanging it up and everything. And everybody's like, well, where's John Harbaugh going? I'm like, he's up there, too, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, he doesn't look older, but he's right there with Andy Reid.
All right, more feedback coming up in a moment here. We'll check the text line in full rhythm for the first time coming up in just a few minutes. Greg Rakestraw is going to join us a little bit later on in the hour as well. But right now, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, we'll get to Indiana playing for a semifinal spot and a final championship spot later on tonight against Oregon in a moment. But got to start with Rick Carlisle. Gets his 1,000th win as a head coach last night. Pacers over the Hornets 114-112. Man, is Pascal Siakam getting it done during this. I know it's been a long losing streak, but honestly, how many players are playing better night in and night out than Pascal Siakam? He's been tremendous. He's the one thing that's kept them even close to games during this stretch.
Yeah, I think he's definitely deserving of an all-star nod. Obviously, when your team's won 7 games, that doesn't help you in your all-star candidacy. But, yeah, he's had a great season amidst all of the issues.
He had 30 points last night, including the game-winning field goal with about 12 seconds to go. They beat the Hornets 114-112. Aaron Nesmith had 16. But how about TJ McConnell off the bench? 23 points and 8 assists. That was enough to overcome LaMelo Ball, who came off the bench because that's how they're doing management load in Charlotte. Hit 7 threes. He just kept firing threes last night.
Very talented player, but you buried the lead there, Jeff. The steal. The TJ McConnell steal. That he McConnelled the Hornets, and they got the dub last night.
I love that he was talking about, because right before that, he had airballed a 3. Remember that? But he's like, I'm going to go fix it. And he did.
I'll tell you what, the only thing that ever tells me that TJ McConnell's not from Indiana is that broke jumper. But other than that, the man is very good at basketball.
All right, to Indiana, Oregon tonight in the second of 2 semifinal games in the college football playoff. By the way, that Pacers playback presented by C&J Water, the official water treatment partner of the Indiana Pacers, cnjwater.com. That's what you need when you have your water needs there. All right, Oregon and Indiana tonight, semifinal. The winner will take on Miami, of course, but 6:30 airtime here on The Fan. You can watch it on ESPN with Sean McDonough. The Hoosiers are 14-0, Oregon 13-1. James, where's that one loss come from?
IU.
That's right. So you got the candy stripe pants on today. Did you have to go dig those out of the closet? From last basketball
No, I finally
season?
did my laundry, so these are clean. I didn't want to wear dirty candy stripes. Not a good look. That's bad juju.
That's exact leisure wear.
Yeah, right, exact leisure wear, but bad juju and bad shimmer.
All right, Kevin Bowen, what needs to happen for Indiana to win for a second time over Oregon this year?
Shout out to Greg, listening from the hotel in Buckhead. Thank you, Greg, for that. Well, certainly we've talked about it. Establishing the run game. I think, again, getting Dante Moore off his spot is really, really critical. I think as long as Indiana doesn't have the coverage bust or two, last night we saw it, even in that semifinal game, Miami was able to strike on that. I think if you're able to keep Oregon in the, hey, if you're going to score on us, it's got to be the 10, 12 play, 80-yard drive. I just think Indiana's defense is too sound to allow for that. So I would start there as some of the keys.
Yeah, and what kind of I would expect Fernando Mendoza to have a Fernando Mendoza night. Just do what he keeps on doing, right?
Yeah. I mean, the last time he played, he had more touchdown passes than incompletions. Do it again.
All right, 6:30 airtime here on The Fan. Kick at 7:30. If you do want to watch it on TV, it'll be on ESPN television. The college football playoff and the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers. Wow. Yesterday for the Colts, Chris Ballard has his end of the season presser, says they need to get younger and faster on defense. But what was your number one takeaway of the 45 minutes or so he spent with the media yesterday?
The opening statement included Juju and Shimmer. The owner had to ask her GM, are you still confident?
When he said Juju, I literally thought he was about to say Juju Brents.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd heard of that name or had made that reference, Kevin. But yeah, I was thinking that too for a second.
Where's this going? I was like, I didn't have Juju Brents on the Ballard bingo card here in the opening statement.
But again, that is not a ringing endorsement right there. And again, my friends would have had to twist my arm to get that information out of me.
Well, whether it's finishing a season or finishing a game, that's something that the Colts have been woefully short on over the last several seasons. He addressed that.
You remember back to training camp, y'all were harping on the start of the season, and I go, yeah, I mean, that's important, but we got to find a way to finish the season, and that is one of the major issues we have. I mean, you can go back to 21, 23, 24, 25, 4 years. We have not finished, and we've got to evaluate and figure out why. I'm not going to sit up here and say I got an answer for that right now, but that is real. I mean, because we've not finished.
9 years, and we're still trying to figure out why, Kevin.
Well, yeah, and again, I would point to more of the defense as the big focus from him yesterday, and that being more of a, wait a minute, is this kind of cleaning up your own spilled milk here?
All right, so that kind of puts a wrap on the 2025 season for the Indianapolis Colts. We wait now over the next couple of months. Combine, free agency, draft, and, of course, no number first-round pick anyway for the Indianapolis Colts this year, James. So they have a lot of figuring out to do. That puzzle is going to be complicated to put together.
Oh, absolutely. But whatever you put together, it better be close to a big, real contention.
All right, the NFL rolls on tomorrow without the Colts. The Rams play the Panthers in an NFC game at 4:30. And then the Packers and the Bears play at 8 p.m. What's the key for you and Bears fans to watch that game tomorrow? How do the Bears win that against the Packers?
Run game. Run the ball down their throats. Keep the Bears' defense off the field as long as possible. The Bears have been killing the Packers in the ground game. Don't take your foot off the brake, Ben Johnson. And also get off to a hot start. Get a scoring drive going to start out the gate. But Monungai, Swift, Caleb Williams, use your legs, and the Bears should be okay.
See, he buried the lead again. The key to a victory is having Mark Dykton give the pep speech
they haven't
in the locker
invited
room
you
before they take the field.
I mean, I'll happily do that. I'll fly. You can parachute me in. Send the Blue Angels. I'll dive out of the plane.
You know his entire spiel
Jump
would
into
be?
Lake Michigan after.
He's going to walk in there with a boombox and just play Packers suck.
Packers suck.
I've got my I'm allergic to Green Bay shirt on. I'm ready to roll.
All right. Those are the NFL games. Tomorrow, if you want college basketball, Kevin, we talk about Indiana football, but how big is this Indiana-Nebraska game down at Assembly Hall tomorrow at noon?
Yeah, they're going to start a stretch here. I think it's 7 of their next 8 Quad 1 games. So, yeah, really important. As weird as it sounds, Nebraska basketball would be a very, very quality win for Indiana. So, yeah, quick turnaround, I guess, from a fandom standpoint. We'll have your coverage over on our sister station, WIBC, 11 a.m. Again, Purdue, Penn State before Purdue gets into more of a tougher stretch in the Big Ten. Butler's got the weekend off, so a little bit of the college basketball run.
And the fight in Micah Shrewsbury's tomorrow?
Big one against Clemson. Brad Brownell's been there for 50 years.
You might be the only person on planet Earth that's watching that over Bears Packers.
ESPN 2, Mark, if you want to switch over during commercials.
I'll put it on my watch list.
All right, here we go. There's more drama in the Washington quarterback saga. Damon Williams Jr. says now he will return to play at Washington in 2026. He said that, of course, on Instagram last night, James.
After his agent dropped him. So I figured it would be trending in that direction. But also, I do think there is a certain element of when you force a player to be a part of your program. Now, Greg, I get it. You want to enforce the contract and all of that. But how much is he going to help you if he wanted to leave? Very interesting dynamic there.
I didn't realize him and Jed Fish, their head coach, are the same agent. That makes things awkward real quick.
All right. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we move on to maybe some texts and feedback from callers in a moment here? The candy stripe pants are on for James Boyd. I know you're the only guy here looking like your biggest thing probably the next 24 hours is the Notre Dame basketball game, right?
Yeah, I do want to mention rest in peace to Randy McMillan, former Colts running back, passed away yesterday. For those that remember, McMillan was a guy that was part of that transition from Baltimore to Indy and really was one of the better runners there in franchise history for quite a while. 24 touchdowns in 6 years, just under 4,000 rushing yards. So rest in peace to Randy McMillan.
All right. More of the Fan Morning Show. We'll take some of your feedback on the fan text line in a moment. 239-1070. Greg Rakestraw comes your way at 8:45. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I think it would be much more interesting in future Chris Ballard press conferences if Mark can just play some music underneath him and get a little more urgency going in real time right there, Mark. I like that.
Yeah, pep in your step.
That's right. And it's the same thing like you pointed out in the last hour. Kevin Bowen and James Boyd were both at that press conference yesterday. It's more of the same. It's more of the same. It's always, I've got to figure out how. Every year, we've got to figure out how to finish. We've got to figure out how to do this. So there's always a version. And again, I say this a million times. I like Chris Ballard as a human being. I really do. I want it to work out for him. But it's the same thing every year. We've got to figure this out.
Yeah, and really the late season collapses, however you want to define them, they've been an annual thing throughout this playoff drought. You know, it's never really been the reverse. Like Miami, for example, Miami this year, they fire Mike McDaniel, but they actually played a little better at the end of the season for the Colts.
That was similar for Atlanta too.
Yeah, Atlanta. Yeah, that is that's a good point. The Colts, really, you can look at all of them, and obviously, the collapses are different, but 2022 and 2025 had the big losing streaks. 2021, 2023, 2024, probably more of just a couple of games down the stretch that you circled. They meant a whole lot for you. And you lost them. So those are probably the two big things, James, exiting yesterday. Again, if you can get away from was that Mark playing audio from the 2021 Ballard season ender, 2022, 2023? If you can get away from that aspect of it, two things for me sounded different and or will be emphasized. Defensive personnel, getting younger, getting faster. That was probably the biggest personnel item, and then the other one that you just heard right there. And maybe that's not different, but again, emphasized of, that's more, I guess, mindset more than anything.
Absolutely. And then when you look at the lack of success in those end of season moments, as you pointed out, Kevin, I think the most glaring part in the response to that when we're asking about that is that no one can give you an answer as to why it keeps happening. Shane Steichen couldn't give an answer. He said he has to find one. Chris Ballard said he has to figure that out.
Yeah, Chris
Gordon said the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I tried to pose it to Chris yesterday, like, do you feel like it's culturally? Because, it spans multiple coaching staffs. It's not just Shane Steichen.
Right.
It goes back to Frank Reich. And I felt like that was one of those where it was eventually met with, I don't know. And that's something that, and again, that to me is more of probably you go a rung up on the ladder, and that's a Carly Gordon question that, I think she's definitely got to pose if she hasn't to Chris Ballard, because that is something that spans his tenure, but also that includes multiple coaching staffs. One other thing, which, is probably one of the biggest 180s from this season, Chris did mention we have got to run it better when we want to run it. There might not be a bigger 180, James, in this entire season than Jonathan Taylor's first half versus second half.
Yeah.
I would like to know, and we'll have plenty of chances to ask these questions and follow up at the owners' meetings and before the next season starts. So we'll talk to Chris Ballard a few more times. I think I skipped a few steps, actually. The Combine is one of them as well. But, Kevin, I think what I would like to know from his perspective is how much do you think the run game was affected by the Daniel Jones injury and the inability to do some of the more mobile things you wanted to. Granted, when you had a mobile quarterback in the season finale, it still didn't work for you. And then 2, do you trust your offensive line to hold up? Because we were ranting and raving about how great they were for the first half of the season, and then it changed, and you had a couple of injuries along that offensive line, and you switched some guys out. How much of that do you think that was a factor, and how much do you believe in the future of your offensive line? Because at this point, you're changing guys regardless. Tanner Bortolini is your center of the future. At right tackle, I would venture to say it's probably Jalen Travis instead of Braden Smith, who's now a free agent and likely will not be brought back in my eyes. Your right guard situation is probably Matt Gonzalez after he slid back inside from right tackle. So are you confident in that unit? And I don't even want to go this far, but the coaching of that unit, because I think Tony Sperano Jr. has proven he's a good coach and has gotten a good amount out of those guys. But yeah, trying to figure out the why behind the unsuccessful and really just dreadful second half campaign from Jonathan Taylor, because we know, I mean, I get it. He might have pressed a little bit, might not have found every single hole, but let's not act like the guy is washed up or something. It ain't him.
Check the fan text line real quick. Kevin Mo wants to know, look, Ballard catches a lot of shrapnel and well-deserved, but why isn't there more fire aimed at Steichen? He is the head coach. He's a good OC, but he is directly involved in the late-game collapses and gets put on the back burner because of Ballard. They both deserve blame, and Ballard seems to catch it all. Steichen deserves more and gets less. I am also not a big Ballard supporter, but your thoughts on that statement?
Yeah, I mean, there is some truth, I think, in a lot of that. I wouldn't agree with Steichen deserves more. I think the length of the resume is probably the biggest reason why I think the Ballard criticism deserves to be more than Steichen. Again, you can obviously lay blame at both, and 7-22 against teams above 500 is rough. But, you know, when you have Chris Ballard up there saying the defensive personnel isn't good enough, is that really on Shane Steichen? So, yeah, I mean, 9 years and 3 years, that's a big old time difference. Big old time difference.
All right, that's it for the Colts for this moment in time. Well, we will talk to Greg Rakestraw about that, as well as a few other things coming up in just a moment here as the Fan Morning Show continues on a Friday.
Are we switching a bunch of high school games tonight? Are there, I guess we can ask Rake this, but are there any still on Friday night?
I was about to say, there better not be.
Move them to Saturday afternoon, right? Otherwise, empty gyms everywhere. But we'll talk to Greg Rakestraw about it all next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza ready to lead his team into the national semifinal tonight at the Peach Bowl in Atlanta against Oregon. What do you think that Curt Cignetti pregame speech is likely to sound like, James?
I'm not sure. Give me your best impression.
I think it's going to be more like everything you've done all year long leads you to where you are tonight. All the preparation, all those days in practice, all the things you've done. Don't let all of the deposits you've made into this bank go out the window tonight. Protect and watch those deposits and let them play out and pay off with every foot you've put in front of the other one all season long.
Let's go.
But only a way Curt Cignetti can do it.
Let's go.
Right?
Ooh, Jeff, you took me
What
to
do you
church,
think?
brother.
Boy, that sounds like IU 100-0. After hearing that,
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
I feel like I'm in Friday Night Lights, boy. Clear eyes, full heart. I can't lose.
I will say I got some chills last night when walking out to that coin toss. Boy, you talk about some star-studded,
some firepower
alumni on both those sides. Don't know if Jonathan Stewart and Kyle Schwarber will have the same sort of Pro Football Hall of Fameness to Edgerrin James, Ray Lewis, Eli Manning, and Patrick Willis. But
I will say this, though, man. When you got Ray Lewis and Patrick Willis out there, those are two bad men.
Man, y'all forgetting the ringleader, Michael Irvin.
I know, but I was just
taking the
talking
belt
about
off.
yeah, but he wasn't out there in midfield. I mean, Ray
look, that's like for the adults.
Ray and Patrick Willis, I think, were chirping a little bit. And I know Eli and Edge had a bit of a long embrace there. So I believe, yes, honorary captain tonight. Obviously, the Indiana football history probably doesn't lend to a ton on that side of it. So I think it's Kyle Schwarber, and then for Oregon, running back Jonathan
Fernando,
Stewart.
if you get this done tonight, and if you get it done the Monday night after that, I need you taking the belt off and whooping the canes.
Taking the belt to Michael Irvin on the
Taking
sideline.
the belt to Michael Irvin. Friend, he would never do it, but boy, I would love him even more.
Let's check out what our next guest would say pregame tonight. Greg Rakestraw, Indiana native, Indiana legend. He's been around all of them, and we'll talk about the Hoosiers taking on the Oregon Ducks right now. Greg, what do you think Curt Cignetti's pregame speech sounds like tonight?
Almost the same thing it is every week, and that's what makes his genius work, is that Indiana just does the same thing and focuses on the same thing and keeps having the same results, which is good for Indiana football fans. So I don't think he changes it up a bit, given the fact they're in the national semifinal tonight.
Rake, we still have a good amount of high school games on the schedule for tonight. I know some move, but we still got a good amount, right?
Correct. And so I think I saw John Harrell, who obviously is the keeper of all of these things. There were originally 150-something games on the schedule, and maybe 30 additional games got moved to last night. So obviously the biggest one last night that moved was Pike and Fishers. Warren Central and Lawrence North moved to last night. New Albany and Jeff down south moved last night. Kokomo and Logansport moved last night. But I'm working this evening, so I'm on opposite the game. I've got North Central and Ben Davis, a girls and boys doubleheader. So I believe about 75% of the games that were scheduled to be played tonight ended up being played this evening.
Rake, this question might have a different answer in 15 days, but if you were to compare the wilder nature, Butler's back-to-back runs to the final game in April, or what Indiana football's done?
I would say Indiana. And again, Indiana being in a power conference when Butler was not at the time makes Indiana's path to doing this easier. But again, we had a history of success with Butler basketball. They made the Sweet 16 in 2003. They made the Sweet 16 in 2007. And frankly, Butler's runs came at a time where you saw George Mason, VCU, and others, at least make runs to the Final Four, if not the national championship game. For Indiana, there was nothing heading into Curt Cignetti's first game as the head coach last fall that told you anything like this was possible, other than him saying, Purdue sucks, but so does Ohio State and Michigan. And so it's the one thing that is even in the same neighborhood, but nothing compares to this.
Rake, every time I think about this Hoosiers run, I think of the movie Hoosiers, and the premise of that movie is being sort of the Cinderella, right? The ultimate underdog, but that is not what this Indiana team and this program have become. So how do you view it from that perspective? I don't know, I'm putting you on the spot here, but from a movie perspective, it doesn't feel like Cinderella to me.
No, this would be Cinderella if she was blessed and Mama said knock you out on her boombox. This is a group that, again, and it's why the level of confidence for success is largely high. They're not having to out-scheme you. They're not having to trick you. They're maybe smarter than you, but not trying to outsmart you. They can pretty much go, we're going to run the ball right here, and you can do nothing about it. And you're going to try to run the ball, and you can do nothing about it. And we are going to beat you up and take your will. So it's Cinderella with a mean right hook is what this is, James.
Let me ask you, I'm going to flip it around just a little bit because we've been so, and rightfully so, positive with Indiana and what they've accomplished and what they're doing. Is there anything that worries you for the Hoosiers tonight?
I would say the only thing that worries me is the fact that Oregon has seen them before. And I know Indiana won by 10. I know Indiana won at their place. And I know that, frankly, there was a couple of Indiana mistakes that led to Oregon's touchdowns. But at the same time, I think there is something to having played Indiana before and having an idea as to what to expect and what you are going to see. So the fact that the Ducks are more familiar with Indiana tells me this is going to be a competitive game, which is why I think, the betting line has been a little bit lower for this one than, say, other games.
Greg Rakestraw joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Thoughts on the Chris Ballard press conference yesterday?
Frankly, I've heard this press conference before, and so it's why I wasn't as dialed in or tuned into it. And in that scenario, he said all the right things you're supposed to say. Now it's about backing it up with actions. Now that is the step for this football team. And so we'll see what changes get made in the offseason in terms of personnel. Obviously, from the sounds of it, it sounds like there could be some defensive changes, which are obviously needed. The offensive priorities are pretty cut and dry. Bring back Daniel Jones, bring back Alec Pierce. So I don't think there was anything that shocked me because unlike IU football, this is something we have seen before. We've heard this script a lot over the course of the last several years.
Ray, last one from me. Do you view the pressure on Chris Ballard, and I get it, he's in year 10 now, but do you view it any differently now that for the first time in his tenure, he's entering the last year of his contract without an extension?
You know what? I really don't think that's that big of a deal, and here's why. I mean, we're talking about, I don't know what Chris's salary is, but it's somewhere in the single-digit millions of dollars, right? $280-ish million is what you spend on NFL salary in a given year. I really don't think that's the problem. That would be, penny wise, pound foolish, something along those lines. I don't think that is a factor in this decision, JB. I really don't.
Greg, have a great weekend. Enjoy watching this game tonight and all the things that come over the weekend as well. We'll talk to you again soon, buddy. Have a good one.
All right, see you, fellas.
There he is, Greg Rakestraw, Mr. Indiana Sports right there. Getting ready for, it sounds repetitive, we keep saying it, but the biggest game in Hoosier football history tonight, Kevin. And there'll be another one next week if they can win this one.
I was going to say, it could be 4 in a row, right? You obviously started it in the Big Ten Championship game, and then the Rose Bowl, and then the Peach Bowl, and maybe a week from Monday down there in Miami.
All right. Indiana getting ready to go for the semifinal game tonight. Colts had their final press conference yesterday, and Rick Carlisle hits a milestone with the Pacers. It's all coming your way next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We Grow Hair Indy, they are the gold standard when it comes to hair restoration, and they are ready to help us out today. WeGrowHairIndy.com, that would be the website. And when you're there, you're going to see before and after pictures and videos that I think make some sense for people out there that have had questions about hair transplants, regenerative treatments. I was sent a little poll the other day of, what are things that are on people's minds that they just don't want to maybe admit, and struggles with hair was near the top of that list. The best thing about We Grow Hair Indy is if you would like, they can keep everything very quiet. Private evaluation, virtual evaluation. They've got that available to you, and you're still going to get the education and the answers that you need. So again, that is We Grow Hair Indy. Head online, WeGrowHairIndy.com. And up on the northwest side, building number 2 at the Pyramids, it's We Grow Hair Indy.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
1, 2, you know what to do.
Pretty simple. I win. Good with me.
Mendoza back to throw. Pressure comes again. Throws it to the end zone. And the catch is made. Is it a touchdown? Touchdown! Unbelievable! Omar Cooper with a grab, and he put his foot down. It's a score for Indiana.
For the last couple of years, my God, it's just been a blast.
Here's the snap. Here's the throw. Catch is made. And a break! Down the middle of the field goes Surratt. Touchdown! 2 receivers far side. 1 near. He's going to throw it this. It's picked up by Fisher. He's going to go the distance. Touchdown! Here's the snap back to Mendoza. Looks to the end zone. Rolls to his right. Runs it upfield. 5-yard line. Dives. Touchdown, Indiana. And Fernando Mendoza shows you why he has multiple capabilities out there from an offensive standpoint for this Indiana football team.
The winner of the 2025 Heisman Trophy is Fernando Mendoza.
Up the middle he goes. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Kobe Martin! This Indiana football team is feeling like they can eat Illinois' lunch any moment, anytime they want to.
The Indiana Hoosiers are now the bullies of college football.
Fernando takes the snap. They pressure him. The throw to the end zone. Touchdown! Wow, what a play!
Let's go. We finally get to puff our chest out a little bit.
Now the snap to Fernando. Looks, has time, throws it deep to the end zone. He's got Becker. Touchdown! What a catch by Charlie Becker again. 31-yard play.
Number 1 team in the country, and they're smacking Alabama around in the Rose Bowl, and they're not done.
Talk about sending a message to the rest of the country. This is a message not only for this year and this playoff run, but for going forward. The standard is now the standard in Indiana.
Indiana, 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 one for you. We will fight for the crimson, for the glory of OIU. Never not fail, never falter. In the battle, we're trying to true. Indiana, 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 one for you. OIU.
I'm ready to go, Mark Dykton. Let's line it up and get it going tonight. 6:30 airtime here on the Fan. 7:30 kick at the Peach Bowl, Indiana, Oregon. You can watch it on ESPN. Kevin Bowen. This particular weekend of sports, this may be my favorite weekend. This particular one, this particular year. I'm digging it, man.
Mark Dykton, I think you just all of a sudden led many, many cars on I-65 right now, where all of a sudden you look down and that song comes on in the car, or something along the lines of what you just played, and you look at the speedometer, you're like, holy bleep, why am I going 91?
I know. I want to run through a brick wall And I'm not necessarily an IU fan.
I could have sworn I had cruise controlled 73, and now I'm north of 90 right now. I better slow down ASAP here before the cop at the Seymour exit is going to pull me over.
IMPD be nice out there today.
Excellent work. I'm going to have a feeling the 812 troopers might be a little bit more lenient on the drive down. Now, once you get in Kentucky, good luck. But maybe until that state border, you hopefully...
Spoken like a man from experience.
Yeah, well, certainly.
Just make sure you're flying your IU flag up there on the side of the car.
Yeah, well, maybe take it down when you're in the state of Kentucky. But excellent there, Mark. I actually was thinking, speaking of long road trips, 13 years ago, I guess almost 14 years ago, I made the trip down from Bloomington to Atlanta my senior year at IU. Indiana was in the Sweet 16 against Kentucky. We actually shout out to Chet Strange, shout out to Avi Zalon, shout out to Connor O'Gara, my fellow Indiana Daily Studenters. We then made the drive back. Nothing says the college experience like we drove back after IU lost to Kentucky in what was a thrilling Sweet 16 game. I think we got back to Bloomington about 10 a.m. in the morning. We left Georgia at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that, and drove back through the night. And I was thinking, like, if you would have told me or and I'm sure there are other IU fans that made that drive in 2012 and are now making the drive today or yesterday. Because think about it, Georgia's been a rich city for Indiana University Athletics. The 2002, of course, Final Four was in there, the iconic run all the way to the title game. That 2012 team that got to the Sweet 16, and now here you are back, not in the Georgia Dome, but in the same general area. And I'm trying to think if you would have told an IU fan, guys, in 14 years, you're going to make this drive again to watch the Cream and Crimson. You're going to pack the suitcase, you're going to make that drive again, and the response will be met with, "Oh man, another Sweet 16." Oh, wait, is it a Final Four? Is it the sixth banner? Is it? No. It's better, I think, in a lot of people's eyes. You're going to watch your football program in the Final Four. And not only are you going to watch them, they've got the Heisman Trophy winner, and they are the favorite to win the national championship. Can you imagine saying that 13, 14? Hell, can you imagine saying that 13 months ago, let alone 13 years ago? But yet, that's where we're at right now.
And that's why I can't say it's a Cinderella story. I think last year felt like that, but this year, they have just dominated teams.
Yeah, Cinderella's got swagger. She's a total package right now.
I was about right. Cinderella is balling.
She ain't innocent, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
You might find Cinderella on some other websites out there.
Right. So I am very excited for tonight's game, and I think it'll certainly provide some lifetime memories for all of us, and especially those their boots on the ground. This is the type of stuff that you remember for a lifetime. So I can only imagine the 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old who's getting that sort of trip today. Boy, you better thank your parents forever.
I was just talking about being in the moment, one step in front of the other. But for the sake of We're Talk Radio, if Indiana pulls off the next 120 minutes and they go 16-0 and have the Heisman Trophy winner, Kevin Bowen, where does that compare to the 75-76 Hoosier team that went undefeated and won a national championship?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
just put them both up there on the shelf together,
man.
right?
Right.
But we're talking about Indiana here.
Yeah, it's kind of, I asked Greg Rakestraw a few minutes ago, how do you compare to the Butler run? Those are all, I hesitate with those, and I apologize for asking the question because, we got the text a few days ago. Is this one of the greatest college football teams of all time? Whenever you get into those discussions, you naturally nitpick the incredible accomplishment. So I don't know if it makes for great sports radio, but I don't know.
That's exactly what we do in sports radio.
I'll probably sit that one out for now and see if it happens. And obviously, not being alive for it. And certainly you think back to the 75 year and the injury that happened. And, last year's run didn't have necessarily that aspect to it. But again, it is bar none one of the greatest stories, period, in sports. And, as I've said it all along with Curt Cignetti, it's the greatest coaching job, I think, in college or pro sports. Frankly, I think the only thing that would pale in comparison is probably on an Olympic level when you talk about 1980.
Look, and again, the basketball team, 75-76, it's the only college basketball team to ever run the table and win the national championship. Only. Ever. That'll always stick out.
But Quinn Buckner, he has had, I'm looking at his resume. I always forget, he went undefeated in high school, undefeated in college, and won an Olympic gold medal.
It's a lot of chicken.
Yeah, I mean, he's a legend back home in Illinois because he was a great two-sport athlete in football and basketball. So it's kind of funny. It's a full circle moment whenever I see him because you hear how great his high school teams were. I believe his senior year of high school, they went undefeated, but on top of that, they didn't have a game within 14 points. So that's pretty crazy.
Well, like I said, still a lot of work to do. 2 full football games, 1 football game just to get the chance for the second football game. And you got to go 60 minutes tonight. And it's just keep doing what you're doing. That was kind of my point when you're asking what I would say in the pregame. James, just keep doing what you're doing. Be physical on both sides of the line of scrimmage, which is something they've been so good at all year long. They have physically been stronger than every team they've played this year. That imposes your will on them. That wears them down. That gives your amazing skill position players on offense a chance to do things they need to do. And the defense consistently getting off the field keeps them fresh in that fourth quarter, Kevin.
Yeah, I think, we've touched on so many different keys throughout. Again, getting Dante Moore off his spot, I think, is one of the biggest ones for me. Obviously, that involves your defensive line majorly. Because if there is one, I think, all right, is there any sort of concern as you wake up today? Indiana, there's been, 4 or 5 times this season where there's been some coverage bust, and other times where Kurt Cignetti has spoken to coverage bust of like, hey, we just got lucky there that the other team didn't recognize it. And, last night was a perfect example. Carson Beck hasn't, hit a shot all playoff long, and then all of a sudden, boom, Mississippi has a coverage bust, and Beck hits one. And I'm curious what that did for Carson Beck maybe the rest of the game, because then on that final drive, when he's asked to deliver some big-time throws on third down, he did that. So I think that is certainly key number one. And then just continue to maintain your balance on offense. I think as long as you do that, you'll be able to, put up points. And, I'll continue to stress what I've said all along. I just feel like Indiana was the much better team in the first matchup, and that was despite them having season high in penalties. And I don't think I would expect that tonight. I thought Oregon, even though maybe the score didn't indicate, I thought they had a lot of undisciplined moments in the Texas Tech game of their Orange Bowl appearance there in the quarterfinals. So I'm curious if they have any more of those tonight.
Kurt Cignetti yesterday meeting with the media at the Peach Bowl, and somebody asked him, like, Coach, during a game, are you ever happy with that scowl that's there all the time?
I mean, there's a lot of times I am happy, I just don't show I'm happy. And if I'm going to ask my players, right, to play the first play, to play 150 the same regardless of the competitive circumstances, then I can't be seen on the sideline, right, high-fiving people and celebrating, or what's going to happen, right? What's the effect going to be, right? So that's why I am like I am during the game. Plus, I got to make important decisions and manage the game. These decisions we have to make in terms of game management, when to use timeout, when not to use timeout. People ask, do you ever get to enjoy this? And last week I asked Jeff Cake, I said, we just won the game, and I got 10 press conferences I got to do after the game. When am I going to enjoy this? So, no, I do smile, and I am happy at times.
This is one of the reasons I'm so bullish on Indiana tonight. His philosophy of keeping it in the moment and just this play, I think lends itself to not getting ahead. Like, we do this on talk radio because we get ahead of ourselves and we say, what if? That's part of what we do. I don't think he worries about that. You just take care of business right now and then take care of business on the next play, and that leads to first downs, which leads to scoring drives. And the defense, if they just take care of this down and the next down, they just take care of the business that's in front of them right now, James. They're really good at that.
I'm laughing because I can guarantee you Dan Lanning's saying the same exact things. But to your point, Jeff, no one's probably been able to better execute that than the Hoosiers. But also during that answer, Kevin, when I was listening to it yesterday, I thought for a second he was going to say, when am I going to have time to enjoy this because I have 10 guys I have to worry about in the transfer portal? Because that, to me, is also a big part of this run right now. Like, when could he ever really breathe when after any game, literally after, I want to say the new year, the day after you advance and beat Alabama, the portal opened and you got to worry about trying to get new guys in here for next year. Yeah. So, yeah, the celebrating, it will come at the end. And right now, You got 2 more wins until you can do that.
I need to double check this stat, but I think one of the wilder things I've seen on Indiana here this season, they've played 14 games? Is that right?
Yes.
So they've played 14 games, and the stat that I saw is they have been penalized defensively 11 times this season. And like when I think of college football, you watch some of these games. I mean, it can be a penalty fest. I mean, last night there were a lot of flags.
Got a kid thrown out last night.
A lot of critical fouls. Certainly, don't get me started on the old targeting rule. But you can have a lot of undisciplined nature and a lot of penalties. And when you think about, you go over the course of a 14-game season, and you only have 11 defensive penalties. Like, that might not be the sexiest stat in the world. That might not be something that, whatever, you're going to lead off a story, you're going to lead off a Signetti, interview with. But that to me is just the definition of discipline, well coached, well executed, players that know exactly what their roles are, all of that. And to me, I don't know, that one really stood out to me to describe just how well coached they are.
Yeah, and again, I think to your point about getting Dante Moore off his spot, he is certainly the key that makes that engine run, and they did a really good job of not letting him get comfortable in that first game. And it's, to your point, getting him off the spot, but it's just making sure that he is looking for whoever's coming next. And that's what he was doing in that first game when he was sacked 6 times. Every quarterback that's alive, I don't care who you are, you get sacked 6 times, you start looking for guys as you're looking for your wide receivers, James. Just instinctively, your brain's trying to take care of yourself, and you're like, okay, where's the next hit coming from?
Absolutely. And they will repeatedly hit you. I mean, physically, mentally, it doesn't matter. This team is one of the more complete teams you've seen in recent years, which is why they're unblemished to this point.
Real quickly, too, we've got just a moment here, Kevin. You got the Indiana football game tonight, but did you ever in your life think that you'd say to yourself, Indiana, Nebraska, noon on a Saturday, that could be one of the biggest games of the year for the Hoosiers?
Yeah, big one. It starts to stretch for Darren DeVries and company where, the Big Ten, if you look at it right now, you definitely have a lot of opportunity. And I think it's just important for Indiana to get some of that. The non-conference, you don't have a lot of substance. Right now, the only road win is, the worst team in the Big Ten. So, yeah, games like this are going to be important for the resume there. So, yeah, that's a quick turnaround. And Don Fisher's going to do both. John Herrick spoke with us earlier in the week. Indiana will get back to Bloomington around 3 a.m. Do you think they have a cot in Assembly Hall for Don Fisher? A suite for him?
Let's just get him a private plane with a place to relax and chill out.
Give him the old penthouse in the Memorial Union for Don Fisher. But yeah, that'll be 11 a.m. our coverage over on WIBC coming up mañana.
That's gonna be a lot of fun. And then Purdue tries to keep it rolling tomorrow night at 8, as well as the Boilermakers continue to play at home, and they're looking to play Penn State tomorrow. They should be able to take care of business there. Should be able to do that, as they just kind of keep clicking along. I mean, ho-hum, number 5 team in the country, just keep rolling along.
Is there one loss still, just the Iowa State boat race? I think that's the only time they've been, defeated this year. So, ho-hum for sure.
And they, once again, we knew it was coming, but I don't know that we made a big enough deal about it because it probably was 48 hours later when we got back on the air, but the setting the all-time Big Ten assist record, when you think of all the great point guards over the years that have come through the Big Ten, it's hard to truly put that into perspective, isn't it, KB?
Well, and honestly, if you look at it, he's got a chance to, potentially get to Bobby Hurley, which is insane when you think about it from that aspect to it. They did a really nice job, Purdue, with their game notes they put out there, who the top assist receivers have been from Braden Smith. And I think obviously, several are pretty easy to get. The Trey Kaufman-Wrens, the Fletcher Lawyers, the Zach Eady's. I want to say 4 and 5 on the list was Mason Gillis and Lance Jones. I don't know if I would have guessed that if you would have made me name a top 5. Certainly Lance Jones, one of the biggest assists, one of the biggest shots he's hit in program history to kind of ice that Tennessee game in the Elite Eight. But, yeah, continues to add to it. And very similar to Indiana, Purdue's about ready to get into a gauntlet. I think they go out west, if I'm not mistaken, next weekend. Yep. I think they've got Iowa upcoming. Iowa's been a really nice story here in the Big Ten. And, Purdue, from a Big Ten standpoint, they do get Michigan at home. And that is obviously the class of the Big Ten right now. Has been what Dusty May's done up there in Ann Arbor. So to get them from a scheduling standpoint at home could be very advantageous when you start to split hairs standing wise as the year moves along.
When you look ahead to that game, that's part of a big 3-game stretch for them, which all 3 of these games will be at home starting on February 17th against Michigan. But then Friday night that week, on the 20th, they'll play Indiana. And then later on, the week after that, they will play at home against number 12 Michigan State. So that's a big 3-game stretch for them. And you were right, Kevin. They play Iowa at home next Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, and then 4 of 5 on the road. So
this from my brother-in-law, currently en route to the Peach State. Half the cars in the highway of Indiana plates just drove past a lady with her face painted. I would think you would have to get away from that car pretty quickly. You cannot be near a face-painted car, can you?
What time do you get up to paint your face that time?
Have you ever painted your face?
I was
for
just
a
going to ask
sporting event?
you, at Indiana, did you ever at any time put paint on your body, your face, anything?
I have never.
You were never like the I or the N in a student line there?
Bad artwork is the only time paint has been on my body.
I did it one time when we were kids, when we were going to like a Bears preseason game. My brothers and I did it, and I was like, what kind of paint did we use here? I don't even know what it was. But I just remember we thought we were so cool, and I'm like, we probably look like complete jackasses. But we were like 11 and 12.
I was going to say, kids, no. I mean, have you seen the amount of crazy fans we've seen at games? I mean, the bar is high on that one, my friend.
As an adult, I have not painted my face, unless my daughters have put makeup on.
Picturing this woman, going through the hotel buffet in the morning, just scooping some scrambled eggs onto her plate with just the pristine face paint.
Excuse me, this bacon is a little limp, I think. Can you get a refill here?
Yeah, she's got to go through 3 full meals and everything else before she gets to the game tonight.
Well, I was going to say, you got 12 hours till kickoff. Is that paint going to stay there until... Make it till 10 p.m. Hell of an effort.
All
but
valid questions.
Hey, if I'm driving by that car, either I'm gunning past it or I'm slowing way down. I cannot be next to that car.
I'll tell you what, that is a good problem to have for this woman on this morning, because a lot of us like to be in her shoes going to this game.
All right, Mark, let's check it down. We got a lot to talk about this morning.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All eyes on tonight at the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, and who knows how many Hoosier fans are on their way down to Atlanta as we speak right now, and a lot of them are already there, as you pointed out earlier today, Kevin, because they will be taking on Oregon in a college football playoff semifinal tonight, and the winner advances to the national championship game a week from Monday in Miami, where the Miami Hurricanes will be playing in the other half of that game, because they won their semifinal game against Ole Miss last night. How big of an advantage is it for the Hurricanes to be playing at Hard Rock, James?
I don't know how much of an advantage it is. I do think there is going to be some comfortability, but at the end of the day, man, when you line it up, you got to go against the teams on the grass, and I guarantee you, if IU's able to pull this off tonight and they face the Canes won't be worried about having a home locker room. They'll be worried about how can we run the ball against this team, or perhaps have some success against Fernando Mendoza and company.
I think it's nice to have it in your backyard, but like we said earlier this week, like the price point for this is going to kick a lot of fans out. It's going to be more of a corporate event, like Kevin said. So I don't know how many actual Hurricane alum and whatnot are going to be there, aside from like Michael Irvin smacking belts against things.
Could not agree more on that. Right now, Ticketmaster, cheapest ticket, section 344 for a week from Monday at Hard Rock Stadium, $3,031.25.
That 25 cents really critical, apparently.
I think that would be the difference maker. I probably would have to say no.
You know what? I was going to do it, but nickel and diamond me, no thank you.
Gumball, I used it at Steak and Shake. Used that 25 cents for a gumball.
Well, tonight, 6:30 airtime for the pregame here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. 7:30 kickoff time if you want to watch it on TV. ESPN and Sean McDonough, who we just talked to about an hour ago, will be on the call there. And last night, of course, Miami gets the win over Ole Miss, 31-27. Carson Beck scrambles for a touchdown run with 18 seconds remaining, and the game still wasn't over at that point, James.
Incredible finish. Ole Miss had a chance to win it at the buzzer, and again, you see the joy of victory and the agony of defeat in those moments, and that's why you love sports, man.
Both quarterbacks played well last night. Trinidad Chambliss, 277 yards passing and a touchdown, but Carson Beck, 268 yards passing, 2 touchdown passes, and that 1 rushing score. They advanced to the national championship game. Looking forward to seeing who will be playing them, and hopefully it'll be Indiana. They are 3.5-point favorites. I've been saying this even to people in the hall, Kevin. I like that number for Indiana.
Yes, as do I. And I want to give a hat tip to Trinidad Chambliss. We see stories that, college sports, I think especially has some of these stories where, if they don't develop into anything in the pro career, we probably forget how cool that story is. I don't know. Maybe in the transfer portal era, we'll get more of the Chambliss stuff. But that was a really, really fun and cool story. His dad is South Bend Clay product there, so a little bit of a local angle on that. So shout out to him. That was a fun story to follow, and a likable SEC movie is not something that we are used to, but I think Ole Miss created some of
that. One of the things that's interesting about Ole Miss, though, the relatively few number of players that have entered the transfer portal with Lane Kiffin going to LSU, they weren't even in the top 10 of teams who've lost the most portal players so far. I thought that was interesting, James.
That is interesting.
All right. More on what we're focused on here. Last night, the Pacers win 114-112 over the Hornets. Not only do they snap a 13-game losing streak, but Rick Carlisle finally gets win number 1,000. And KB, we've been waiting on that for a month, but it was really cool to see. And they were able to hold on in the fourth quarter, where they've been, during this losing streak, giving up big runs in the middle of the fourth quarter and late in the third. They did not do that last night.
Yeah, some big-time plays. We'll start with Pascal Siakam, of course, had the eventual game winner. T.J. McConnell with the McConnell. But I thought Aaron Nesmith also made a really big play there late. LaMelo Ball tried to throw an alley-oop to extend Charlotte's lead, and Aaron Nesmith, typical Nesmith fashion, he read it beautifully, went up and got it, and it was a huge play in helping the Pacers have a chance there at the end. So, yes, win number 1,000. Again, to reiterate, Rick Carlisle, one of 3 individuals in the history of the National Basketball Association to win a title as a player, win a title as a head coach, and also win 1,000 games. Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, and Rick Carlisle.
I believe that's spelled Hall of Fame. Is what that spells.
Correct.
Yeah. So congratulations to Coach Carlisle. We appreciate all that he's done. And Pacers just kind of keep clipping along right now, trying to overcome all the injuries. The 22nd different starting lineup, according to the Pacers pregame broadcast last night. It's been incredibly insane. Chris Ballard met the media yesterday for the end-of-the-year press conference. He'll be back. They'll run it back for a 10th straight year. And I guess the 2 main words were shimmer and juju yesterday, James Boyd.
Again, if you have to ask your general manager, are you still confident that you can do this job? It's probably an indictment of how poorly you have done the job.
Man, oh man, oh man. College basketball tomorrow, be a
It's
busy
like
day
asking
too.
if your wife, you two, are you confident in this marriage?
Do you still love me?
I mean, come on now.
I think we can get more into this next week. Indiana, deservedly so.
Yes,
has
you're right. Sorry for cutting you off, Jeff.
No, I just, it deserves a bigger conversation, I guess is what I'm saying.
We got time.
We do.
We got a lot of time. Tomorrow, college basketball, as you get ready for NFL playoff action. Nebraska at Indiana, Assembly Hall. That one starts at noon. Penn State at Purdue at 2. And then, yes, Clemson and Notre Dame at 6. Unless we want Notre Dame to just blow them out early so we can just head on over to watch playoff football, the Bears and Packers, right, Mark?
Mark, your favorite non-Packers Bears wild card game?
Ooh, we should get into that a little bit later in the show. But yeah, that I don't know. I'm trying to think. I feel
you
like
going Eagles, 49ers?
I think the 49ers got the Eagles. I think the 49ers, despite all the injuries, they were looking pretty good. And I feel like the Eagles are kind of falling off a little bit, but that's where I would go. Maybe that game or the Bills game.
Yeah,
a lot of pressure on the Bills.
Bills at Jags.
Yeah.
I mean, the
I'm
Buffalo
intrigued by that
Jacksonville
one a
markets,
lot.
I agree.
We want the Bills to win that game, right? We don't want to see Jacksonville win.
Oh, I don't know if I've got venom towards Liam Cohen. Jacksonville seems
Just
like,
Jacksonville in general.
I think it's more the Colts' own doing and less to do with like Jacksonville, some hatred team.
NFL
the
tomorrow, by
pool's
the way.
dirty down there.
We start
Jackson DeVille's a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
We start with Rams at Panthers. That one starts at 4:30, and then Packers at Bears at 8 p.m. Have you already started the pregame for that, or are you going to wait until after the Indiana game tonight?
That ain't coffee in my cup today, Jeff.
Ooh. A little rum chata in there, Mark Dykton?
Just maybe a little.
What time did we start?
What time is it now? 9:30? 3 hours ago.
Didn't you say
This
there's?
is crazy,
Were you
bro.
brushing your teeth with some Jack like
Yeah.
Kesha back in the day?
We're pregame. Did a shot of Malort before I started the day. We're ready to roll.
Didn't you say there are some tremendous options over at our friends at Cluster Truck for tonight and tomorrow?
Yes, the tailgate special. It is a must. Yeah, $29.99. A big fan. Your promo code there, you get $5 off. But I love me the tailgate special. That's 2 large pizzas, 2 pounds of chicken strips. Outstanding from Cluster Truck. So definitely check that out for your viewing parties tonight. Viewing parties tomorrow. Hell, viewing parties Sunday, man. I know, Jeff. You said it's AFC NFC title game weekend. I can't agree with you on that. This is the
particular weekend, though, because of the Indiana game and all the great college basketball games. I'll side with you for this particular. I've always loved Championship Sunday, man.
Jeff, don't concede anything.
Some waffling I hear from
Never
Jeffrey
concede
Rickard
any
here on
ground.
this Friday
How do you
morning.
go against a weekend that includes Indiana playing in a national semifinal, though?
Fair point.
That's all I'm saying. It's never happened before.
Why didn't you say that last year when Notre Dame was playing in the semifinal?
Because I don't feel the same way about Notre Dame.
Oh, they got some furniture moving up in here, y'all.
The look on his face is as if I just slapped him upside the head.
It looked like Kevin's face looked like he just ran into the face painted lady on the highway right
Mark,
now.
are we 6 minutes over? Are we 7 minutes over in this morning check down?
I know.
All right, we'll take a look ahead to what's coming up tonight and tomorrow in the NFL and college basketball as we continue next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
sus piernas y con el factor hace que le
James Boyd on the call last night for the Miami game right there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm a little bilingual.
That was outstanding stuff, Mark. Miami gets the win in the first semifinal game. Carson Beck scores with 18 seconds to go. And then, of course, Trinidad Chambliss, a couple of great throws, puts his team in position for, you call it a Hail Mary, but I think they were on like the 35-yard line at that point. So it wasn't like way down the field.
So if you're Carson Beck, do you say, como se dice, I'm him?
Como se
Because
dice,
in that moment,
soy.
como se, that's it?
I'm trying to think of what the best word for him would be. Not sure that
Wouldn't
I
it
know.
be the Spanish word him? But we're getting on a tangent.
Well, you can go.
Hermano.
There you go. You go.
Grande niño.
Yeah, I guess niño. Soy niño.
Grande onions.
It says
soy hombre.
A quick AI search says
Soy-
yo soy El.
L, yeah. L
Yo
or hombre.
soy
I was trying to say which would be more
All
appropriate.
caps, EL right there. I'll tell you what, Carson Beck, I know, off ridiculed. I'm not the biggest fan, but damn, he made some big plays down the stretch. And that emotion, I was struck by Maddie was dead asleep for the whole second half. She woke up about 30 seconds to go, and the cameras panned to Beck on the sidelines. I mean, he couldn't even watch there. Some of those final Ole Miss plays there. And I think you saw a bit of his emotion. We'll get into Carson Beck, coming up Monday night, certainly. But, boy, what a game. What a game. 4 lead changes in the final 7 minutes. That was absolutely, absolutely epic. Tremendous, tremendous college football game. And that Malachi Toney, boys.
Explosive.
I'll tell you what.
He's supposed to be a senior in high school, right?
I don't want to say this lightly, man, but I get some Reggie Bush vibes and just the electricity he brings to a college football field.
You hate him already then.
Wow.
Well, certainly what he did week 1 against Notre Dame as to James Boyd's point, a 17-year-old that was supposed to be still in high school. I mean, how about the catch he made that wasn't even a catch near the sidelines
Oh, yeah,
there?
that was incredible.
I mean, it's rare, I think, for just dudes to look like they have a different gear than other. I mean, that dude played an SEC team, and he looked like he was in a different stratosphere than the Ole Miss defenders.
He also has this slogan that he goes by. He puts it on I don't know if it's nose tape, eye black, whatever. Gabos, Gabos, game ain't based on sympathy. I was like, ooh.
Look at that.
Okay.
Man.
All right, young man. When I saw that, I was like, I believe in him.
If I would have walked around the hallways with that on, back in the day, I might have had a little bit more action.
He's got some juice. And really, I think it's just how explosive he is. One missed tackle, one bad angle, and he could take it to the crib. And so that element also scares me. If IU's able to get through, just game-breaking plays, he can provide those.
They threw a swing pass to him late last night that I swear he caught it 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Like, it was one of those where they threw it even. It was clearly a lateral. They threw it way, and I'm like, what in the world? And yet I assume they did that on purpose because they know if he can get ahead of steam, that angle the Ole Miss guy thinks he has on him,
Doesn't have.
game over there. So Malachi Toney, special, special talent.
Well, you got another big college football game tonight. Indiana trying to put their guys on display. Who do you think statistically has the biggest game for Indiana tonight?
Statistically.
Is it going to be one of the 2 running backs, one of the 3 wide receivers? Is it going to be Fernando Mendoza just slinging the rock around? What do you think is likely to really
I might roll with Roman Hemby.
get it done? Yeah, I think running the ball. They ran for 111 yards against Oregon the last time they played.
But also, I mean, I
not him personally,
I
but
can
the
see
team.
Omar Cooper Jr. having a big game. He was relatively quiet last game.
Yeah, he was.
Still caught a touchdown pass. I don't want to discredit that,
Right.
but he's another one who could have a big moment.
You know what I really like for IU is the tight end, number 37, Riley Nowakowski. That dude, he is not maybe built like your normal power forward tight end, but that dude is, if I could quote Chuck Pagano, a rolling ball of butcher knives trying to tackle him. I've always felt this way, like when opponents tackle Mo Alley Cox. I swear, if you had to look at it, I think Mo Alley Cox causes a defensive injury on 30% of the times he gets tackled. Like, dudes just get hurt. And I feel like with that Nowakowski dude, he provides that. And again, when Indiana has so many weapons, he's made some huge plays for them this season, just kind of forgotten about a bit here. And, I'll go back to a thing I've said all week long. If you look at the first matchup, Charlie Becker didn't have a catch. And the Elijah Surratt, and if you remember correctly in that game, remember the third down back shoulder to Surratt that ended up being the game-winning touchdown?
Yep.
Surratt was just a dude in that game. And, Surratt's been a dude. 50-50 is 90-10. Don't they call him Waffle House for a reason there? So that injury to allow Charlie Becker to be called upon, I think has been huge because, Oregon's got some very impressive corners. I forget the kid's name, but I think he had the pick six of Mendoza, but he also made some big plays against Texas Tech. But, the further you get into that depth chart, okay, Charlie Becker is going against who? Who's your third corner? That is and has been advantage Indiana here throughout. So, obviously another key item to, I think, Indiana being a better football team than they were even back in early October.
7:30 tonight. Kickoff, 6:30 airtime here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. We keep repeating it all morning long because we want to make sure if you're out and about and you can't get to a TV set that you listen to the legendary Don Fisher and the broadcast there. And, of course, our guy has just joined us in the past, about an hour and a half ago. Sean McDonough will have the play-by-play on ESPN. All right, coming up in a moment, we'll take a look at all of the big college football and NFL games coming up this weekend. Tell you who we like, who we don't like. That kind of thing as we continue next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Coach Carlisle, congratulations. Man, 1,000 wins.
Congratulations, Rick, on your 1,000th win. Can't wait to see the next 1,000. Good luck this year.
Coach Richard Preston Carlisle. I just want to say congratulations on 1,000 wins.
Hi, Rick. This is Luca. I just want to congratulate you on 1,000 wins.
Reggie Miller, the great Larry Bird, Luka Doncic talking about Rick Carlisle, all of whom have something to do with him and his career. And again, it's 1,000 wins. And if you've just joined us, or even if you've heard it before, it's so important to hear it again. Where does that put him on the list of all-time great personalities and coaches in the NBA, Kevin? Think about this. Going with Phil Jackson and Pat Riley on when you talk about 1,000 wins and then winning an NBA championship as both a player and a coach. It's just insane.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I know we used kind of the first ballot Hall of Famer and probably maybe some other sports, but, Rick Carlisle, certainly that. I think one of the things that, a ton of credit for is, the NBA looks a lot different than from when he started. Think back to those Pacers-Pistons series when it was a race to 70 points, frankly, to win those games. And now teams are scoring 70 at halftime, and yet he's adapted with the times. I think, you can get coaches and maybe are a little bit stubborn in their ways, and he's been super adaptive. And certainly I think this Pacers team, when healthy, shows that. So shout out to Rick Carlisle. Will join us coming up on Tuesday. 4-game homestand now for the Pacers. Cool locker room scene last night. If you haven't seen that video, check that out. Pacers Twitter there. We'll mark out that audio. Check that out about 10 o'clock. Speaking of 10 o'clock, other things that I would highly encourage you to listen to, because 10 to noon today, and again, it's national here. Joe Buck, Scott Dolson on with us, Sean McDonough from earlier. I really, really enjoyed Anthony Thompson on with Jake yesterday. I thought that was a really, really fun interview. And Adewale Ogunleye. Thank you. Ogunleye. I butchered that. And so, Mark Dykton, thank you on that.
You're welcome.
He was on with John yesterday, all-time sack leader in Bloomington. I also thought that was a great, great listen. So dial it up podcast-wise from 10 to noon and then restart back up with Jake at 12.
I endorse that right now. All right, we do it every Friday. Our look ahead to the National Football League. We can even throw Indiana in there as well. Hardest to pick, easiest to pick, and the most entertaining games of the weekend starts now.
All right, boys, where are we going? What do you want to start with here?
Let's start with tonight. Well, a special edition of this one with Indiana tonight.
Okay, you most excited for it, or you think it's the hardest or the easiest?
It's the most excited. I'm most excited to watch this. Of all the games this weekend, this is the one that is just injected into my veins again and again and again.
Yeah. What if I said I was most excited to watch Panthers-Rams? Just a total curveball. I'm like, yeah, who cares about the national semifinal of Indiana and Oregon?
I don't know if I can give an answer for this. Is it just default the most exciting game?
I was going to say, I think it's rather obvious. I guess if you're only going to make me pick an NFL game, I will say the most entertaining game would be 49ers-Eagles. I'm not sure the last time we've had a defending national champion, or defending Super Bowl champion, shows you how much we've talked, that's been talked about less. Like, the Eagles, I feel like, are an afterthought. Nobody thinks they're going to get on a run. And I'm kind of like, what? Are we just overlooking them? Have we just overlooked the entire Nick Sirianni era?
Yeah, I mean, they got booed at home on Black Friday, and you're like, wow, the wheels are really falling off this Eagles team despite being a few games above 500. And I think everybody's just like, yeah, they're just kind of limping in. They kind of gave away the opportunity to get the second seed in the season finale against the Commanders. They're like, okay, I guess they're comfortable playing them. So
the last time we saw them in the playoffs, they just destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, so most entertaining for me, I'll go Eagles 49ers. That is the Sunday 4:30 Fox game.
I got to go Bears-Packers because of the hatred that I know my family has for the Packers and my extended family being Mark Dykton as well. So that one should be drawing some great reaction, win or loss, from the Boyd and extended family household.
So I will say this. I could change my most excited to watch game to this one if you come up with the live stream in Mark Dykton's family room.
I'm not ruling it out. I don't know if Ashley and the girls want me live streaming, but
I just want to see your reaction.
It'll be parental advisory, most likely, because I'm sure there'll be some four-letter words for sure. Of course, it's most exciting Bears-Packers for me. That's where it's got to go. Bears should beat them. If they don't, I'm assuming the defense is falling apart, but The Jordan Love and the Packers have lost 4 straight. They're kind of limping in the playoffs. I know the Bears have lost 2 in a row, but run the ball down their throat like you've done the last 2 games, and I think you'll be okay. Don't overthink this one. Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, it's your time to shine.
Think about that. The 2 teams have combined to lose 6 games in a row, and they're both in the playoffs.
Very weird.
Wow.
All right, easiest game. Let's go there next. Easiest. Is it Rams-Panthers?
Yeah, well, I think it's easiest. I mean, from a coverage standpoint, Mark. I mean, I would take the Panthers in those points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 10.5.
Yeah,
that is a huge number. Huge number in the playoffs. Let alone they're the home team. So
and they beat them earlier this season.
And Jeff Rickard's going to be front and center, right?
Yeah,
you're going to be there.
Yeah, I'm
That
going
should
to be there.
A little bit of juice right there.
Right.
And I'll probably get in trouble, so don't tell anybody in Charlotte I said this. I feel like the Rams are going to roll in this game.
Boy,
so you would
sending
disagree
this
with
audio
me?
off now.
I want the Panthers to do well. I just don't know if they're ready for this moment. And I think the Rams...
The Panthers beat them earlier this year.
And again, it was one of the... And I get it. And that's why they're in the playoffs. And they've had some big wins this year. I mean, they beat the Green Bay Packers earlier this year. They've had some big wins, but they've also had some rough losses. I just don't know if they're quite ready yet. So to me, that's the easiest game of the year.
I'm going to say my easiest is Texans-Steelers. I think the Texans are going to roll against the Steelers.
You're
I know,
biased.
I know I don't like Aaron Rodgers, but I also think that Texans defense is rounding into form. They've got C.J. Stroud back. Nico Collins should be ready to roll. I think that they are going to be rolling against Pittsburgh.
See, that's my hardest, Mark. I really, that environment on Monday night is going to be absolutely rocking. And I know Houston's won some playoff games, I should say, and that defense, but still, winning on the road is just a little bit of a different animal. And I don't know. I don't think C.J. Stroud's been maybe as clean and as smooth as you would like for him to be. So that one is just a toss-up for me. 3-point favorite, Houston.
Yeah, Eagles 49ers for me. I know Philadelphia's 5.5-point favorites. That's the hardest one for me to call because I could see the 49ers pulling that off when we were talking about Eagles disrespect just a moment ago. I feel like the 49ers finally have all cylinders firing and they got everybody healthy. I think Kittle's going to play in that game. This is going to be a really crazy game. But if the Eagles win that one and they win it convincingly and they cover that 5.5, they could be on a nice little run right back to where they were last year, James.
Yeah, so my easiest, because you all skipped over me and you're rude, I would go with Rams-Panthers because that's the biggest spread. And then the hardest one for me will probably be Buffalo and the Jaguars. I think the Bills are the best player in the playoffs, but the Jaguars have been playing some of the best football. And the Bills are favored by 1.5. I just don't trust that line, and I don't really trust the Bills' defense. So that should be sort of a toss-up for me.
I co-signed with James on that one because this should be the year for the Bills because it's so wide open. There's no Patrick Mahomes. The Ravens are out. The Bengals are out. You would think it's their time to shine. And, boy, I don't know if they're going to get out of this first round.
The guy wins one award, and all of a sudden he starts demanding things on there.
Hey, it's a pretty big award. Let me know when you win your one award there, Kevin Bowen.
Wow.
Jeez, you're catching strays left and right today.
No, that was actually a little mean. I take that back.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a little mean.
Boy.
I was going to say.
Lord.
Hey, you skip him over for...
I'm going to lose my babysitting
I
privileges.
was kidding about the ego, but maybe I'm not.
All right. Let's get down to brass tacks. Predictions for the game tonight, Indiana, Oregon at the Peach Bowl. James.
IU 27, Oregon 23.
Kevin Bowen.
Yeah, I'll go 24-16 Hoosiers.
Mark Dykton.
28-27, Indiana.
Ooh, you went that close game, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
I
going...
would sign up for that, Mark. If you can tell me it's going to be as epic as last night.
I know.
I'm going to go the exact same score they had in the regular season, 30-20. I think Indiana's a better team. I think the only reason that game was close last time was because of the pick six. I thought they dominated, for the most part, line of scrimmage. They got to the quarterback several times. They forced some turnovers. I don't think tonight's going to be a whole lot different.
We shall see.
All right. So, again, 6:30 airtime tonight for us here on The Fan. And then we've got you ready to go at 7:30 for the kick. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, of all the games this weekend, I think Kevin might most be looking forward to the Clemson-Notre Dame game tomorrow night at 6, right?
Mark, ESPN 2, once again, if you want to flip back and forth between those two. Mark, good luck to your Bears.
Thank you.
I know it's been a while since this fandom has been tested up to this point, so Enjoy it. And everybody, safe travels down there. IU Nation, safe travels. Thank you for listening with us. Boy, I say these events are once in a lifetime, but I don't know. Maybe Kurt Cignetti's going to make it happen quite often.
All right. Have a great day. We got Jake Query coming your way at noon, JMV at 3. Enjoy this semifinal Friday.